Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello, and welcome to episode 147 of Mythos Busters. I'm Sean, and joining me tonight are my compadres, my bros, my Friday Night Riders. We've got Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. It's the official kickoff of the weekend. How could I not be good?
My weekend actually started yesterday, so I am in full weekend mode.
Nice.
Both.
Yes, mood.
Mood. Yep.
Joining as well is Ian. Hey, Ian.
Hello.
How's your Friday mood?
My Friday mood is good. I'm excited to talk some Arkham and to talk to you guys.
I'm very excited for what we have in store on the next couple of episodes. And it's going to be a great episode. So not joining tonight, and I don't think for the next episode will be Justin. He had some conflicts, so we're unfortunately going on without him. But we've got a great show lined up for you guys. We're going to get through our normal openers, do a little bit of catch up and check in. And then tonight we're going to be continuing our The Scarlet Keys player expansion reviews, and we're going to pick up the Guardian cards tonight. Very excited. But before we get to any of that, let's do a couple of reminders. So first off, meme contest. It's out there. Go check it out. It's on our Padlet. Check our social medias. You've got a little bit of time. You've basically got the space of this episode to vote on the winners. We had a really good turnout this year, and we're very much looking forward to doing the Roundup Twitch stream, as is our wont. So pay attention to our Twitch channel for that. And then last call for house rules. So if you're going to send us some house rules so we can kind of run over how everyone modifies the game and makes it their own, and hopefully share some cool little tidbits, fire those off very quickly. Our next set of episodes is going to be covering those. You can send them to mythosbusterspod@gmail.com, or you can send us an email. That is the same thing that I just said. That's the same thing twice. Email to mythosbusterspod@gmail.com. Or you can call in, is what I meant to say, to the Mythosbusters hotline. That's 203-493-6984. And tell us your house rule. All right, boys. So what Arkham have you been playing since we last spoke?
Well, I have been trying to tackle Amina. She has been a tricky one. This box actually, it's been like Carson. I found fantastic and easy to build for. At least like I was just like, take all the cards that were kind of crappy for multiplayer, but now they're great because he makes them better. Vincent Lee I found very easy to make for. Kimani, still, like, they're good. I'm still figuring them out, but like it's just tinkering at this point. But it's been Amina and Carson that have thrown around, and Daryl, he's fine, whatever. But it's been Amina and Carson, I played with for a while, and I'm still iffy on him, and I'm still iffy on Amina, and I've heard some people having great success. I've tried some deck lists. I'm just...
Yeah, I hear stories. We all hear stories.
Yeah, and I but anyways, I got onto this idea of trying to use Power Word and Summon Servitor, and then also use all the like Down the Rabbit Hole and oh my god, what's the mystic one that gives you 2 XP for spell experience? Arcane Research. And just using those to just power up Power Word and Summon Servitor like as quickly as I can to 10 XP, and basically make it so that Amina isn't doing tests. The bad guys are. You know what I mean? It's been interesting. The trouble is level 1 or scenario 1.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so just been trying a lot of like any auto clue access she has and whatnot, but yeah, I don't know. It's been really, really hit or miss, and I'll have like a good scenario and a bad one. Like once it gets up, and maybe this is just it ends up being a standalone deck, but then you don't get the advantage of the research and down the rabbit hole and all that.
The XP upgrades.
Yeah, which is where like I mean it's because I think it's like ends up being 4 free XP each scenario,
That's
which
decent.
because it's down the rabbit
There are
holes,
some scenarios that don't even spit out that much.
right? And so it's that on top of something else, like the speed at which you get power word and what's it called summon servitor to 10 XP, and so you have like a full build of both of those. And once you have both of those, that's a pretty strong setup as long as you can get to them. Yeah, it then it flows well. But even with those 2 big cards, yeah, taking tests 3 across the board, it's difficult.
3 across the board in Mystic specifically, I find
because
is the thing.
Mystic asks for that, like pick a stat, it must be willpower, and put all your eggs in that basket, right?
Pick a stat, any stat. Willpower.
Yeah.
Willpower.
You can pick any stat as long as it's willpower. So yeah, like that's the thing, right? With Kamani still figuring Kamani's stuff out, but it's like okay, 5 agility, like from the start. I'm like I figure this out, and their ability does agility things, right?
Mm-hmm. They provide you guidance in their stats at least.
Mm-hmm. Amina, like I mean, her ability to get things out on the board, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I'm not finding that those things always create enough grip into the scenario to move me forward. That even at that big of a discount of price, and even at that discounted price, I still have to figure out what to do with that Doom. So
yeah,
right, like there is a price there. It's just it's Doom, and then I have to pack. Yeah, I don't know. I have to pack all these extra cards, and so if anyone has
plan extra actions and time the things you play. And it just I'm sure Amina has got some good builds, but I personally have yet to find the one that pops for me.
Yeah,
I agree. Because like even in the deck, you're laying out the summon servitor. That only puts you up to a base 4 if it's doing tests, and you're kind of relying on that. So it's like it's only 1 up from that, which does make a difference, admittedly. But
but it can go like away from me and do stuff, you know. Like
That's true.
And then I have the 2 power worded monsters, you know, and I move them around or whatnot. So I kind of just like that idea of Amina just standing around and like puppeteering 3 things. So
but she's the operator.
Yeah, but you know what? Maybe she's not the build for that. Maybe I need to take a different mystic for that specific build, so that I can just. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe like a Dexter and use the summon server takes up an ally slot, doesn't it?
It does.
And you can upgrade out of that specifically, right? I was just thinking Leo.
Yes.
I was thinking Leo DeLuca for extra actions to kind of get it all set up. But, you know, if you're playing Dexter, he's got extra actions by default anyway.
Yeah.
They're just, as long as they're play actions.
Yeah, one of the upgrades you can cross out either the ally or the arcane slot requirement. Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's kind of been when I'm messing around. Haven't had a whole lot of time to play Arkham. Like it's been maybe maybe double digit scenarios, but it's still been just trying out Amina and trying different things. But that's what I'm kind of working on right now. But yeah, if anyone has a great Amina deck list, please like DM me on Discord, ping me wherever. I would.
Or
like
if you want to serve everyone instead of just Scott, call it into Mythos Busters. Or no, God, why am I crossing the lines of communication tonight? Call it into the Mythos Busters hotline 209-493-6984, or you can send us an email at mythosbusterspod@gmail.com. I'll get it right at some point tonight.
Ian.
I have been playing a fair bit of Arkham lately. Part of it was after having a little bit of a Arkham funk, I realized I needed to play more with my physical cards again, which I used to do a fair bit, but I kind of slid into doing a lot of virtual play. And also because I was busy was the other reason I wasn't playing as much Arkham. But Anyway,
Valid.
yeah, been back in action again. A few campaigns going all through Scarlet Keys. I'm still trying to get a hang of this particular campaign. I'm gonna avoid spoilers as much as I can. I won't spoil anything, but just some general comments about TSK along the way. So one campaign is I was continuing, speaking of Amina, my Amina Vincent Lee campaign, which I had talked about in the past couple of episodes. And I think out of all of us, I was the most positive on Amina. And I was having success in the first few scenarios of Scarlet Keys. But since then, everything has gone to hell. And I'm actually probably going to abandon that campaign because the level of trauma on them and Vincent Lee in particular, because, you know, his weakness gives trauma. That combined with some of the scenario results, he's basically like one horror. He'll be starting each scenario like one horror away from death, which maybe I'll try to complete it at some point. But just given how I know Scarlet Keys goes, it just doesn't feel like worth the effort to like play those last two scenarios or whatever. So yeah, I've been forced to. It's hard because I don't really feel like I can necessarily lay that at Amina's door specifically. It's a hard campaign, but at the same time, she didn't really get me out of those troubles either. So I don't know. I haven't really stopped.
I'm willing to blame her if you aren't.
I haven't really stopped to do an in-depth analysis. It could be the pairing wasn't quite right, even though they seem to do, like I said, pretty well the first couple of scenarios.
Yeah, one of them was Amina. All right, I'm memeing now. I'm memeing.
Yeah.
I don't hate Amina that
We'll
much.
see.
I'm just memeing.
I'm still like I think there was a good investigator there, but I think what I need to do is probably play her against a campaign that's not Scarlet Keys and see how that goes.
Yeah.
Agree. I feel like
Comparison.
that is by far the biggest disservice done to Amina is that she dropped in this box.
Yes.
Yeah.
On a related note, second campaign I had going. I had said earlier after my initial True Solo run, like, I don't know whether I'm going to play Scarlet Keys True Solo again, actually, because it just seems pretty rough. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to take my best boy Finn in a deck that I've used with Finn to beat campaigns like TFA and Innsmouth and TCU. And he's just pretty much been able to handle any campaign solo. So I was like, all right, let's do a true stress test against Scarlet Keys. First couple of scenarios, blew them out of the water. I was like, okay, you know, maybe it's just a matter of like, you got to get the right investigator that you know really well. Second two scenarios, I was destroyed. And, you know, a lot of times in Arkham when I lose, it's still like a close game, which is one of the reasons why I like Arkham. There are not as many games where I just get destroyed with
Blown
no
out.
chance. Yeah. Which would happen a lot in Lord of the Rings. But these two scenarios, I just no chance. Like, there's nothing I could have done differently. Like, just the sequence of pulls and cards. So yeah,
Can I ask which two scenarios it was?
One was Dead Heat, and the other was Sanguine Shadows.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one? That one swings hard on RNG, and in solo, I can't even imagine trying to cover that ground.
Yeah, so again, at a certain point, I might go back to True Solo at Scarlet Keys, but this might be another abandoned campaign for now. The other thing is, this is a part where I'm going to skirt around spoilers a little bit. There are a couple of paths you can take through the campaign which affect the Chaos Bag, which is no big spoiler to say that. And in this particular campaign, I took one path, and the token pools were really, really rough as a result. So it's almost like I'm wondering if there's just one path that's better than the other, but we'll talk about that some other time when we go into the Scarlet Keys campaign, because yeah, the token pool, it was one of those things where the token pools were so frustrating in one scenario. Like, I drew the same bad stuff token like 70% of the time, and it was just like causing me to fail over and over, and not a great time. So that brings me to the last campaign, which has been a better time because I went back to two-handed. Okay, let me go through Scarlet Keys again, and hopefully I'll get a campaign that I don't actually abandon.
Boy, like, if nothing else, I am in awe and admiration of your persistency.
Yeah, and I usually
like, I will have a campaign and I will have a good time.
Yes. I usually don't abandon campaigns either. That's the thing. So yeah. So now I'm doing a couple builds that I've wanted to try for a while. One is Gunslinger Mark with what is this card called? The customizable thing.
Custom modifications.
Custom modifications. That's the one.
That's a fun deck.
Yeah, that has been really good so far. I mean, Mark's just good in general, and we already had some like gunslinger tools along the way. But yeah, I'm building up custom modifications over time, and that's working really well. And then I'm pairing it with a Scavenging Bob build, and that is working pretty well. What didn't work well is that I kept having scavenging on the bottom of my deck the first scenario or two.
Yeah.
But now I've actually started to draw it, and it's working, and it's just a really fun build because scavenging, you pull back an item asset, and then Bob has his extra action to play an item asset. So you can really just keep cycling through things like, your coats and keepsakes and keep protected, or like your key rings and derringers and all that good stuff. So that team, I just played Sanguine Shadows, and they finally got a victory.
Oh, you like that one, don't you?
Finally got a victory in that damn scenario,
Oh,
thanks
there
to
it is.
Bob
Okay.
and Mark. So yeah, I have
not
high
so much
hopes
about
for this
liking it.
campaign. Maybe this will be the one. I don't know.
I have built a version of Scavenging Bob, but it's like the biggest slight to his character that he can't take upgraded scavenging. I'm sorry. That's like, it's such a bummer for like item guy. Hey, I'm item guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess he has an extra action, so it's a wash. So yeah, I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
I've been thinking of taking that custom mods out for a spin and trying to go back with Tommy and do the Voltron Becky build.
Yep, just do Ultra Becky.
Yeah, I haven't.
That would be fun.
I haven't built it yet, but I feel like it'd be a really great standalone, especially like just piece it together. But yeah, that I've only planned that in my head, like while doing grocery shopping. But yeah, custom mods, man, that is. Oof,
Yeah.
what a card.
Yeah.
I did back when like Blurse was the hot ticket item. I did a Spirit of Humanity Ultra Becky Tommy, and then my weapon that was also in there in case I couldn't find Becky was Winchester.
Yeah.
And oh my god, Tommy's good. I think Tommy's a little underappreciated. He's got some shit that he can do.
He's a blast when you get his when you get that Voltron build. It's just like, give me enemies, please. And it's treachery after treachery. Yeah.
Well, then I suppose for my part, I have had a weird set of weeks. I was most recently at my dad's house, dog and house sitting, and I brought my entire computer so that I could sit and work on podcast stuff, in particular Dissonant Voices. So I've had a lot of time going there. But in my off time, I did start up a true solo campaign against Scarlet Keys. It's a Diana deck, just kind of like a version of the standard Diana solo deck that I've had good success with. It's been going all right. I don't want to start like a assault fest or anything. I'm not the most positive on the Scarlet Keys at the moment. I don't know if it's just because I haven't been able to devote the time to it that it needs, or if it's asking something of me that I'm not hearing or whatnot. But like, I've just been having a hard time like bringing it through to the end. The Iron Man that Justin and I did was really fun. I believe now in hindsight, we just like very, very luckily happened to kind of build decks that work in Scarlet Keys in a way that your general purpose deck doesn't. So I feel like I just need to tap back into that magic again. But yeah, anyway, that one's been going fine. This is I'm going to try to get all the keys, like actually get the keys campaign. So Diana's got a couple at this point. I suppose we don't want to like go into spoilers here. I was about to start naming keys. Anyway, that one's so I did Sanguine Shadows and in solo, Ian. It's a hell of a thing. I got ultra lucky with the thing that you're trying to find, and managed to get a good resolution out of it. But the whole time, every time you have to like set it back up again, I'm like, oh my god, how am I gonna do this with what? There's just one of me, and I'm a mystic. I don't have move abilities. Ugh. So that's been fun. Also continuing my return to regular TFA campaign with my friend Kip. We just did Constellation a couple days ago, and that was fun. I hadn't played that one in a good long while. I have some notes. So maybe someday we'll do a return to Constellation. But that one was fun because I completely forgot that we kind of just like we threw caution to the wind with the campaign rewards if you do it as a side scenario. And I'm very, very excited to have that extra +1 in the bag for the rest of TFA.
Oh, yeah.
I won't lie to you. I will not lie to you.
Yeah.
It's a comfort.
2 Consternation,
Yeah.
2 Constellation? Is that what we're going to name it? Like,
Yeah, it works for me. And we'll just create a franchise and ride it to...
Maybe I need to
Right,
throw that into Scarlet Keys and get that +1 in the Scarlet Keys bag.
Yes, there you go.
Consternation, the Constellation, Atlantic Drift.
The problem with doing it in Scarlet Keys is that you technically take off from Boston and go to London. So like you start in London, you go over to Arkham, possibly do something there, and then you hop to Boston, go back to London, and then fuck around in Europe, I guess.
Yeah, well.
But
the timeline in these games when putting in side scenarios always makes sense. So
I was
don't
about to
worry
say,
about it. Yeah.
This is the first campaign where I've ever cared about the continuity of a side scenario.
Fair.
So.
Yeah. I feel like talking about TSK and some of the frustrations with it, I wonder if it's just this is going to be, and maybe this sounds like too simple to be true, but I don't know, maybe it's what Occam's razor, where just the simplest thing is probably the right thing. Is that what Occam's razor is?
Occam's razor is the answer with the fewest assumptions is usually the right one.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of something
But yeah,
else.
it's the simplest solution is usually the best.
Right.
Is how people reduce it. Yep.
But maybe it's just a campaign where once you know it well, you build a deck for the path you're going to take. And you just do that path. And so the replayability comes from wanting to play different paths, but it's not necessarily the best face check campaign.
Yeah.
Which,
And that is I think you're probably right. And that's why I didn't want to start Assault Fest because
yeah.
I remember with a little bit of shame how salty I was, mid TFA. And I don't want to do that right now because now I love TFA. It has I have criticisms and it has its low points, but TFA is a great campaign and I'll always play it. I'm hoping that TSK gets there and I figure out whatever it is that I'm doing wrong right now. I don't want Arkham to get much harder than this if I'm throwing that out there. And this is just me. This is my past trauma with Lord of the Rings, the card game, which is a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games. There was a turning point in that game where suddenly you kind of had to either tech completely individually for each scenario you played or play a power deck. And if you didn't do one of those two things, you were going to lose.
Or you could bring a fun deck and get bodied.
No, there's that.
That was
that was your third option.
Yeah.
Just prepare to keep wiping the board.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're there yet, but I'm gonna just say this: there's a lot of 4s and 5s printed on cards, encounter cards in TSK. There's a lot of them. There's far more of them than I'm personally comfortable with playing on standard as a basic bitch playing on standard. I'll be fine. I love Arkham. I'm gonna play this campaign probably at least a dozen times, minimum. I worry for the people who play more casually than me, who maybe will play one campaign once or twice.
Yeah.
And this is gonna feel bad. This campaign's probably gonna feel bad. It alleviates in higher player counts. I wouldn't know. I haven't done more than 2 players in TSK yet, but
Yeah, true.
I don't know. I have concern.
It might be the hardest face check for sure. And then just in general. Yeah. Like I think you're right, Scott, that it's probably a matter of getting a hang of it. But then you combine it with like the non-linear nature of like that you kind of do scenarios in different orders, or you might not play certain scenarios. And so in some ways that makes it harder to like figure out what makes each scenario tick. Like if this was just the standard campaign and you played like, okay, you play Dead Heat next and now you play Shadows next, and then in that order, like you would pick up the rhythm pretty quickly because that's what's happened in past campaigns. But I don't know, for me, like that's kind of the, like Sean, you were joking earlier about how I must like Sanguine Shadows, but it's more like I'm trying to like follow roughly the same path in my campaigns because I kind of want to like try
You're
it
doing
with
runs.
different investigate. Yeah, exactly. I'm basically doing like a roguelite thing, like doing
Yeah.
different runs against the same thing and seeing if I can like pick up. And like over time with certain scenarios, the ones I've played more, I have been like, okay, like I think more so than any campaign, like these scenarios do, like some of them do have a specific like, okay, this is the trick, you need to do this in this order, or like wait to advance this act here, or like I think it relies on really knowing the scenario. So I too am kind of holding off because I was in the same boat of like having quite a bit of salt with TFA at first and being frustrated, and then eventually learned it, and now I really like it. So I don't know. We'll
Look
see.
at us.
It's
growing.
almost like you can't put a final judgment on Scarlet Keys after a few plays. You really need to.
Yeah.
We'll see in like a year from now or 2 years what the final verdict is.
We'll check in before Iron Man.
I also don't want to like also dismiss your concern, Sean, because I think that like the feelings you're having are legit, because I've also seen a lot of people also have those feelings and express them, and I think it's also completely valid, and that is, I don't know, like
It's very tough, very complex. Like I can sit here and talk all day and we can expound on this and not be right about some things, but like the Arkham community kind of exists in tiers of skill and engagement, and I am afraid that if the design of campaigns and the approach of campaigns becomes too difficult, inaccessible, requires you to engage with it a lot, you're just going to start knocking out the lower tiers from interest in future campaigns, and I don't want that. No one wants that. So I hope that doesn't happen.
right.
But Ian, the other thing, like you were saying, I feel like with TSK in your face check run, or like hell, even 2 or 3 runs in at this point, with the non-linear design, because you have so many choices to make, it's so much easier to make bad ones. And I am doing a lot of that. I'm doing at least my fair share. If someone else wants some of these bad decisions, I'm happy to offload.
Okay, I have a hypothesis now. Do you think, because there are 2 campaigns where you can make a bunch of decisions, and those decisions have ripples throughout the campaign that, you know, change how good or bad your experience is, and that is TFA with supplies and TSK with all the different choices along the way. But the thing with TFA is that you make them all at the beginning, and then you're like, look at how my cookie crumbled over all these times. Oh, I get to pick one other cookie halfway through, and I'll
Dunked
you know what
my
I mean?
cookie in water and then busted it in half and then took all the chocolate chips.
But in TSK, it's like death by 1,000 cuts, because you're like, oh, I made a choice. That was probably a wrong one. Oh, I get to make another choice. That was probably wrong. I make another choice. That was the wrong one again. And you get to suffer. You know what I mean? Like it just...
Have you been watching my play sessions? It feels like you've been watching my play sessions.
I don't know if that's like just the psychology behind it with, you know, like making choices where you don't know the outcomes. And if something doesn't go right, whether because of that choice or because, you know, your deck shit the bed or you drew terrible the chaos bag, whatever, right?
There are so many failure points.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wonder if there's trouble aiming the, I don't know if I call it anger, where to put the blame on what happened. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder if that's something that people
Yeah,
are
like-
experiencing, including myself, because there is some
Agreed.
frustration with me, and like I know I'm going to end up loving it, like because the same thing with TFA. I was like, man, I'm getting kicked in the teeth, but just give me a couple months. I know I'm gonna love this campaign. I just have to figure it out, right? So
Yeah.
Xylos, yeah, Sideshow Bob stepping on a rake, yeah, that's right. Like just whack, whack, whack. Like I feel like that is harder than taking 8 rakes at once with TFA and choosing your supplies wrong, and then
Just
just
jamming them straight up with.
yeah. So
Yeah, I almost feel like I want to. Usually, I don't feel this need, but I almost feel like I need to do like the level of planning like we do for Iron Man for Scarlet Keys already, just
Yeah.
for my regular at-home campaigns, just to. Because like some of those choices, because there's like a finite amount in most. I mean, there's a finite amount in TSK, but it doesn't. It feels infinite. But in most campaigns, there's like a few major choices, and the community, we kind of build up like a consensus over time. You know, like TFA, no blanket tinket, like these little
Yeah.
phrases. Like everyone just kind of knows what like the quote unquote like optimal choices are. But with TSK, yeah, because there's so many choices, like I haven't really seen that happen as much, and I don't see it happening at least now until like you really start digging into all these points. And then even the fact that there's like these these other parts that aren't even scenarios, that are just like story beats, and there's like gameplay implications there. I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, good check-in. I'm glad you guys are roughly where I'm at.
just a good half-hour check-in. Awesome.
No one likes lonely salt, so
Yeah.
you're in good company here. And I'm hoping we do have the turnaround that we're hoping for, because there's a lot that I love about TSK, but I just really wish it would let me win once in a while. That's all. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ian, what's going on with our patrons?
Alrighty, so first off, thanks to our board members. That's Chris B, Chris H, Chris M, Chris U, Morton, Jared, Ian, Kyle, Philip, Patrick, Abilio, Jesse, Chad, and Robert. Thanks so much for your huge support of the podcast. And we've got a special shout out to a random patron this time, and that is Linus. Thank you, Linus, for your support as well, and enabling us to do all the things that we do. If you have never been to our merch site, it's at mythosmerch.com. We have all kinds of cool merch. At least I think it's cool up. So go ahead and go there, grab some merch if you feel so inclined. And if you have any pictures of you wearing it out in the wild, share that with us, because we do enjoy seeing the Mythos Busters merch out there in the real world. In meat space, as it were. We do have a couple of job titles to give out. Scott, why don't you read this first job title?
Yes. Dominique Girard, I'm going to guess. Personal humidor sommelier to Mr. Kane. So a cigar aficionado.
Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. And sometimes a cigar is how you win an election.
We all know it's the source of Charlie Kane's power, so yeah.
You will have to travel to other countries to get him the good cigars. Don't worry about the suitcases in the back of the plane. Just that's for somebody else.
I mean,
I'm sure it's
at
fine.
yeah, it's
at this point in history, Cuba's not cut off, right? That
Yeah,
didn't happen.
not
That
yet,
didn't happen
no.
yet. So
Yeah.
it's gonna
No.
be fine.
At this
fine.
point in history, it's just like full of. It's like basically like a Caribbean Vegas, like casinos and stuff.
I was just about to. Yeah, no, never mind.
All right, Sean, why don't you read the second one?
Yes. Well, due to the demands that TSK has enacted on the organization, Keo Wolf is now going to be our resident practitioner of abstract, theoretical, paracausal, totally legitimate psychology. Trust us.
the totally legitimate part makes me believe it. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what
That is
sells it
the
at
point,
end.
so I'm glad
Yeah.
it's working.
I feel like that should turn into an acronym somehow, but it doesn't.
Pat.
Nope.
Pat flips.
Pat.
If we
I
keep
like all
doing that,
three
we're
of
going to
us
summon an elder
separately
god.
Ian confirmed it doesn't work, and then we're all like, "No, I'm gonna try it anyway."
Yeah. No, keep trying, guys. I think we're almost there.
So Vowel will show up.
We've
I promise.
almost
The
got
portal's almost open. Keep going.
Anyway, thanks to Dominic and KO for your
Yes.
support. I hope you find your offices to be roomy and not at all fart scented.
Yeah.
The chair might be though.
Everyone else has had that office before, right? Like you just roll into the desk and it's like, what did the previous person here do on a daily basis? It was probably fart.
Yeah, I think we know the answer to that mystery.
As someone who works in a job where we exchange vehicles, oh
Oh,
boy,
yep.
let me tell you,
Oh no!
there's some
Oh, no.
some fart hotboxed ambulances. Oh boy.
When it just
The front
permeates the
cab.
chairs.
Yeah.
Just
Anyways.
becomes part of it. Anyways, speaking of job titles, if we owe you a job title, if we happen to forget you and you're owed one, or we owe you some swag of some kind, please let us know. We do try to keep track and remember everyone who's owed a job title, but things might fall through the cracks, and we'd love to. Don't be shy. Let us know, and we will make sure you get a job title. I think that's it for patron business.
One last thing I wanted to update. As I mentioned, I did spend a lot of time in recent days working on Dissonant Voices. I made a big push into the beginning of TSK, so we are up to, I think my next entry is Dancing Mad. So those are out there and completed. I don't know if they've been added to the patron list yet. They will be shortly. And hey, North is here, and North will be loading those into Arkham cards as North is able. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting this sucker done. Oh my god. Okay, so like the campaign is pretty front loaded, but that last scenario, like no spoilers here. Surprise, the last scenario's got a lot of text. But yeah, every time, because I have each entry mapped out so I can just do the little timestamps. So I have the whole thing, every single entry, every intro, every interlude, like everything mapped out in a document. And every time I scroll to the bottom to grab, I have a copy paste thing at the bottom. I scroll past the last scenario and just the wall of entries for that scenario. Whew, that's gonna be a whole weekend, baby.
Oh boy.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun to have this one done because just the as we mentioned, like the infinite variation of the different things you might get. It'll be cool to have those available without having to surf the campaign guide.
Yeah.
Of course, you can do that now with Arkham cards. So if you haven't already, check out Arkham cards.
Oh,
It's great.
the best board game, card game, whatever companion app ever. Like fan or
Agreed.
or what do you call it? Official. Like it is the best app I've ever seen for a game. Bar none. So
Fantastic. Scott, what news have we?
oh, news. The meme contest is here, but you kind of went over that already.
Yeah. So just make sure you get your votes in before February 25th. That's going to be our counting cutoff.
And then February 25th, we are doing a Twitch stream of the memes. Last time we did it, it was absolutely hilarious. They've all been amazing. And we will read our favorites on stream. We're going to do a whole bunch. I don't know if we can do all of them, though, because that makes it go very long. But we're going to take a good chunk of them. And then we're going to reveal the winner of People's Choice Awards and chat about memes with some special surprise guests. Yeah, should be great. And then we
And
also...
with 2 years of entries behind us, there's no way you'd be able to guess who they are.
Yeah, man. Phew. Yeah, good luck guessing who those special surprise guests are. They definitely haven't ever been on a bunch of streams and podcast shows with us before. BusterCon. So, reminder of the new dates, June 1st through 4th. The links for the hotel to get in on the block, which gets you cheaper hotels, is the... what's it called? The DoubleTree, the Hilton. which is approximately-ish 2 soccer ball kicks from the event center. That may be inaccurate, but might be 3 kicks.
It's just going to keep increasing with time.
Well, I think 3 max, though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
We'll find out.
yeah, we are going to find out.
Very early some morning, because we can't do this while there are cars in the parking lot, guys. Like, this is a very if we're going to see this meme through to completion, we're going to have to be very deliberate about it.
So we've got obviously the soccer ball kick event. I'm currently building the calendar for the event and what events we are going to have during that day. I'm talking to other content creators that we're going to have with us. So expect a schedule as soon as I can. It should be by the end of the month at the latest. We'll have tickets up soon as well to purchase, but we want to just confirm the dates with everyone. June 1st through 4th. I've booked my flights. We have a hotel room. Yeah, it's gonna be a blast.
We've got a lot of stuff brewing in the background. I'm going to keep it 100% with you guys. Like, the main thing we're waiting on is for the logo to finish. Like, we're very close, but our artist had some personal issues and the logo's been delayed. So, like, we just can't throw everything up there without the logo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's coming soon.
Once the logo drops, everything drops.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, not everything, but most things.
Yes.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, boys. Well, shall we Guardian?
Oh, I'd love to Guardian.
We shall.
Now, we already covered Carson, yes?
We did.
I mean,
yes.
you guys did. I think
Yeah.
I missed that episode.
Yeah.
Scott, why don't you start us out with Hunter's Armor?
Ooh, I would love to. Hunter's Armor is a Guardian 4-cost level 0 asset with a willpower icon, item, and armor traded, but it is customizable. And then it has a paragraph of flavor text. 2 health and 2 sanity takes up a body slot.
Let's cover those customizations.
All right. Great talk about the front. So the customizations we have for 1 cost enchanted. Hunter's Armor gains the relic trait and takes up an arcane slot instead of a body slot. For 2 XP, you got protective runes. Hunter's Armor may be assigned damage and or horror dealt to other investigators at your location. For another 2, you gain durable. Hunter's Armor gains +2 health. And for another 2 XP, hallowed. Hunter's Armor gains +2 sanity. For another 2 XP, lightweight. Hunter Armor gets -1 cost, and playing it does not provoke attacks of opportunity. That one's really good. For 3 XP, Hex Drinker. After 1 or more damage or horror is assigned to Hunter's Armor from a treachery effect, you may exhaust it to draw 1 card. And the last one, 3 XP as well. Armor of Thorns. After 1 or more damage or horror is assigned to Hunter's Armor from an enemy attack, you may exhaust it to deal 1 damage to that enemy.
What say you, Scott?
Middling.
Okay.
I feel like there's so many options for soak now that at 4 cost for 2 and 2 that I have to pump XP into to make it, like, I have to put 4 XP into it to make it a 4 cost for 4 and 4. And that seems like a really bad deal to me. And if I want anything else special, I have to put more XP into it. And I feel like I'm just going to have an ally. I might have just some fine clothes. I don't know.
Aside from Lonnie, is there any card that can remove damage or horror from this card? I'm just trying to think of, like, longevity looping effects with, like, the Hex Drinker or Armor of Thorns. Can you remove damage from this aside from that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, not that I can think of.
Because it's not an ally.
No.
Pretty much all allies specify investigator, pretty much all healing specifies ally or investigator.
Mm-hmm.
To my knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm kind of similar to Scott. It's not like a trash card or anything, but it's just a little bit middle of the road. It is. Similar to Scott, I think it's the XP cost, which is true of all customizable cards, that they tend to be XP sinks. So the flip side of that is like that you're getting something that you can't easily get from other cards, which a lot of customizable cards do give you that. Or they just give you so many options that together it kind of creates a package that you can't easily replicate. But Hunter's Armor, there are a lot of soaks. There are a couple of builds that I haven't tried yet, though. Like, I want to try, like, a Daniela Armor of Thorns build with this. So you're kind of, like, doubling up on the, like, super spiky Daniela. Just, like, every time you get hit, you're really hitting
Daniela Guard Dog Thorns. That's pretty, that's spicy.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a build I want to explore, but I haven't gotten a chance to play that yet.
But the thing is, Daniela cannot put any XP into this card.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
there goes that build. I'll just
great chat.
I'll just cross that off my old list.
No one can ever tell me that Daniela wasn't done the most dirty by the off-class deck building rules.
It just doesn't make sense for multiple angles, unfortunately.
And I say that loving Daniela as she is, but damn, there are so many cards where I'm like, oh sweet, this is a sick Daniela card, but it ain't.
That's that was my big build that I was
Sorry, not to pop the entire balloon of your plan there.
You just shot down my spy balloon there. I just got nothing.
So I'm gonna be a little bit of a contrarian here.
Okay.
Because I look at this and both Hex Drinker and Armor of Thorns are like the first thing that make me go, okay, there's something cool here. The thing that really gives me pause is the 4 cost. Because that's big. That's big. That's weapon. That's ally territory. If I'm dropping 4 whole ass resources on soak, it had better be doing some really cool shit. It can go to 3, and I do think, Scott, you mentioned the not provoking attacks of opportunity. That is actually very valuable. So I think lightweight is probably a pretty good upgrade. But at 2 XP, now it costs 3. 3 is still kind of on the upper end of what I want to pay for what this is doing. I can stand it, but like, okay, so if you get lightweight and protective runes, because like you definitely want this to be like a soak thing, and then you probably Hex Drinker, right? So you're in at 5-7 XP minimum to make this thing kind of do something cool.
So I have played this in one deck because I wanted to give it its time. And I put 9 XP into it. I gave it durable. I gave it hallowed, so it's a 4/4. I got lightweight because,
Sure.
3 costs. And I gave it Hex Drinker. So that I'm drawing cards. I put this in Mark.
Okay.
So that every time
double cards,
I'm taking 2 cards, and I basically put this in a essentially it didn't end up being a sniper mark, but it ended up being a Voltron gun mark. Because I'm like, I just need to draw all my pieces. So this will allow me to use his ability like tons of times, and then when shows up, Shell Shock, I have a decent soak for that, and I'm not screwing myself over. And but again, that was 9 XP.
Yeah, that's a lot of XP.
This was a whole weakness. So
that's good though. Like
it was good, but honestly though, I think I'd rather spend that 9 XP somewhere else, even to just take 1 less weakness. Like, I don't know, just put in more card draw. I don't know. I like it. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think as someone with a full collection, it's okay. If this is like a core set plus TSK is your first experience with Arkham, God help you, first of all. it's good.
Sure.
Yeah.
I like your idea in Mark. I think I also like this in Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the direction he's going anyway. As we fire off on talking about these customizable cards, I know we've talked about them a bit as we've gone through the investigators. There's a gradient of how splashy some of these are. There are some customizable cards where you can take the base card, maybe toss like, sub 5 XP into it, and it's running off and it's doing exactly what you need it to do. And then there are some customizable cards that just kind of become your deck until you get what you need out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you buy other things. And I kind of feel like this leans in that latter category. I'm sure there are good decks. I'm sure there are good combos, but this is going to ask a lot of you before it like gets up and operating.
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
There's also, I saw a deck. It was Lily Chen used it to fill up like Dragon Pull, because you can put it into Arcane slot.
Oh, sure.
And then,
Enchanted. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and then use the card draw and stuff like that. Like that was kind of neat. I could see it there.
Yeah,
that was
that
a
is one
cute
thing
little...
I really. Yeah, well, and it's kind of cool to the customizable keyword, right? Because like every investigator who could take this looks at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just think that's kind of a cool feature of the keyword.
Yeah, I do think that.
Sorry, Daniela.
I do think the whole "Hey, come fight me," and then like guard dog and this and yeah,
guard dog this and Brother Xavier just like soak for days, throwing damage back. Like that sounds like a really fun Tommy deck.
Yeah,
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next one. Ian, I'll take this one, and I think you probably want the next one. So, Runic Axe is a Guardian asset. It's 4 cost. It's customizable, so who knows on XP. It's got a combat icon. It is item, weapon, and melee traded. It uses 4 charges. Replenish one of these charges at the start of each round. Action, fight. You get +1 combat for this attack. Before this attack, you may spend any number of charges to imbue the axe with that many different inscriptions. The base version has 2 inscriptions. You have accuracy. You get an additional +2 combat for this attack. And you have power. This attack deals +1 damage. It takes up 2 hand slots. So I feel like this one, the base version, is worth talking about before we get to the customizations, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay at level 0. It's usable as a weapon at level 0, which is nice.
Yep.
Replenishing charges is cool. It's kind of got enchanted blade energy, but for that additional hand, you get the replenishing charges and a little bit of flexibility in your damage output, which is nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it at level 0.
And especially if you are putting this in someone with a high combat like Mark and stuff like that, you might just need the +2 or the +1 damage for a certain hit, right? Like, so you're only spending a single charge. Like at level 0, this is like, obviously it's not great, but it's not bad. Like, this is absolutely usable. So some of the customizable cards, like, they feel like until you get them up and going, they're like, oh, this is a dead card in my deck the first turn or first game. Runic Axe isn't. Like, no. To me, it's one that, like, this is a shining example of a really great customizable card at level 0.
And purely by virtue of taking this card, you're committing 2 hand slots to it. So unless you're doing, like, Bandolier is a good include. So let's just say that, particularly leveled up Bandolier. But if you're not doing that shenanigans, like, this is your weapon. So you kind of don't mind pouring a ton of XP into it, which is nice. But I definitely feel like this one is possibly on the, like, middle splashiness, right? Like, you're probably going to pour XP into this if you're taking it, but it does work just fine if you're only going to do a little bit of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if you're not going to pour XP, you might as well just grab 2 45s.
And just double fist it.
Well, I'm sure. I don't know, but Anyways,
All right, well, let's cover the additional inscriptions you might get here. So for 1 XP, you get Heirloom, and that makes this asset. Oh, sorry, this isn't an inscription. This is just Heirloom. This asset gets -1 cost and gains the Relic trait. So then Inscription of Glory gives you the option for Glory. If this attack defeats an enemy, choose to draw a card, heal a damage, or heal 1 horror. Inscription of the Elders. Add this inscription, Elders, if this attack succeeds by an amount equal to or greater than your location's shroud. Discover 1 clue at your location. Inscription of the Hunt. Immediately move to a connecting location or engage an enemy at your location. Inscription of Fury. If this attack is successful, in addition to its standard damage, deal 1 damage to each other enemy engaged with you. Then the last 3, we got 3 XP. So those are each 1 XP. I think I only said that for the first one. 3 XP gives you Ancient Power. You may imbue the same inscription up to 3 times. I assume that means you I've always assumed that means that you still spend the charges, though, right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
Just do it more. Yeah. Okay.
You can just
So
double
extra
up on them
damage.
or triple up.
Which, for damage output is super
Mhm.
helpful.
Yeah.
Saga, replenish 2 of Runic Axe's charges at the start of each turn instead of 1. And then for 4 XP, you get Script Weaver. For every charge spent, you may imbue the axe with up to 2 different inscriptions.
So I'm just going to throw this out there because I mentioned the 45s. If you look at Script Weaver, that's 4 XP, which is what it would cost you to get 2 level 2 45s.
Mm-hmm.
The Runic Axe essentially turns into a leveled up 45 that recharges.
Mm-hmm.
So there you
And
go.
takes up an extra hand.
It does, but I mean,
But that's fine.
you have a 45 that like after you blow out 3 bullets, it slowly trickles back with ammo. So
Yeah, so what do you guys think about the inscriptions? What ones kind of look juicy to you?
I'll say Runic Axe is like one of the customizable cards. One of the TSK cards in general that I've used the most. So I've gotten to try a few of these out. I really like the Inscription of Glory. Being able to get like card draw or healing off like what you're gonna do anyway. Like if you're taking this, you're probably a killer anyway. So just getting those like key abilities off of killing is great. And then let's see what other ones are great.
The Hunt.
Yeah, the Hunt.
Is...
Like being able to move and like the action compression there. Like those are 2 of the ones that really stick out to me. And then I usually take the Saga one to get like extra replenishing.
Yeah, if you plan to be using it a lot, Saga really pulls its weight.
Yeah.
In lower player counts, I think Elders is really good.
Mm-hmm.
To just be able to grab a clue. Yeah, it's not going to happen all the time, but occasionally you'll polish off an enemy and then roll into that clue off the location, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, my level 10 build is Script Weaver, so you get 2 imbues per charge. Saga, so you get the extra recharging, and then I get the Inscription of the Hunt to move, Inscription of the Glory to have a multi-tool of things that I want to do. And then I usually choose Heirloom, honestly, to make it to 10, and it gets you that -1 cost. And like if you, what do you call it? If you play in Carcosa, I think like there's some enemies that are like only can be damaged by like spells and relics or whatever. Like there's special things, right? So getting that relic trait, depending on the campaign, is really important. And Teacup says Roland would grab 2. I mean, I think you grab 2 Runic Axes if you're playing.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I said you Roland it off the location. I was just comparing it to Roland's ability.
Yes, Roland would grab 2. Yes. Okay, sorry, misunderstood the question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zyla also brings up, like, I have used this in Carson, and this thing is a great weapon for Carson because it takes up his 2 hands, so it's just whatever, you get into his hands, and use Ancient Power and Saga so you can imbue multiple times and with the Saga. And
I mean, like even just at level 0, Carson's swinging at a 5 if you're using accuracy. So like that's solid.
Yep. And if you get Script Weaver and Ancient Power, you can basically hit accuracy and power 3 times in the same for 3 charges in the same attack, which brings him to 8, swinging at 8 for 4 damage. Oh, sorry, 9 for 4 damage. So
That's
I mean,
pretty
like,
solid.
yeah. And then he's just handing out actions for everyone else.
Like once you start putting XP into this thing, it has all of the features that I love and champion out of upgraded Enchanted Blade. Like one of the reasons I love that so much is because you have good control over how much damage you do in each action. Sometimes you need to pour out 3 in one hit, and sometimes you're fine doing like 2 2s or a 2 and a 1, and like that same weapon gives you the choice to not waste any. Waste not, want not. And that flexibility is really great with the variety of enemies that you might see in a campaign. The campaign that I mentioned last time where I was having trouble with Amina and just decided that my build was terrible, so I swapped in Lily. My Lily deck is leaning hard into Runic Axe, and it's been a fun time. It's been just a good time. And I also just again will point out this is just like straight up a God of War reference, and I am here for it.
You may fanboy over it. The art's beautiful. I love it.
We didn't mention it for Hunter's Armor, but I really like the art for Hunter's Armor.
Yeah,
super
it is.
solid.
Yep.
All right, Ian, you want to lay your new favorite card on us?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Custom modifications is a Guardian event. Has the upgrade and supply traits. Cost 3. Customizable, of course. Attached to a firearm asset you control. Limit 1 per asset. Reaction when you reveal a non-tentacle chaos token attacking with attached asset. Exhaust custom modifications. Cancel that chaos token. Return it to the chaos bag. And reveal a new one. Before I go into the customizations, what do we think about just that base ability to just like get a mulligan once per turn, essentially, when you're using the whatever gun you're using?
It's decent. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I would include it just for that ability.
It's close, which
Mm-hmm.
like if it was 2 cost, yeah, probably. And so whenever I think of that, like with a customizable, I'm like, if it's just like 1 cost difference from what I'd take at level 0, it's like, okay, well, it's worth putting in because I'm going to put in XP anyways and then upgrade it. So
Yeah, like usually that kind of effect, I feel like to get an extra shot at a chaos token, that's usually like a 1-use event, and this is one that you just can keep using. But yeah, I feel like the real show is in the customization. So for 1 box, we got Notch Sight. If you perform an attack with attached asset against an enemy engaged with another investigator and fail, you deal no damage. So blackjack that shoots, I guess. For 2 notches, there's extended stock. You get +2 combat while attacking with attached asset. Also for 2, there's counterbalance. After you attach an upgrade card other than custom modifications to attached asset, draw 1 card. For 3, there's leather grip. Custom modification gets -1 cost and gains fast. Play only during your turn. Also for 3, extended magazine. After ammo is spent from or placed on attached asset by another event, place 1 ammo on attached asset. And finally for 4, quicksilver bullets. If you succeed by 3 or more while attacking with attached asset, this attack deals +1 damage.
Yeah, this card is pretty awesome. It's very combo-y, and you risk, depending on the deck you're putting in, like putting in a lot of XP. Okay, how am I trying to say this? So if you're building Tommy, like Voltron Becky, like you bring in, was it prepared for the worst to try and find Becky? If you have this in your hand and you put 10 XP into it and you can't find Becky, it's a really feel bad moment. And you do run that risk. And then the solution to that is maybe run a couple more guns that you could maybe throw this on. But then you're like slapping, lipstick on a pig. If you're putting like 10 XP of this onto like a 45 automatic, it's like I don't know. You're just trying to make this 45 automatic just the most amazing gun, and that can be feel bad moment. However, when this does work, which it does, often, I find, at least if you're drawing cards and building around this is fantastic.
Yeah, I feel it's an interesting route for Guardian because, like, if you're talking about sinking XP into this thing, well, you could probably just sink XP into, like, one of the big Guardian weapons, right?
Yeah.
Like, get your flamethrower or bar or whatever. But this is, yeah, you are kind of sinking that XP instead and trying to, like, soup up, like, a smaller weapon to get to that same level. Which is cool. Like, I like having different, like, options and routes in the game. But you do kind of have to keep a few things in mind. One is, like, that path of, like, you're going to start on level 0 and you kind of have to figure out, like, what order you're going to do these in. And you are going to be sacrificing XP that you could spend on other parts of your deck. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. But I do think this works well in that kind of, like, gunslinger type build where you're planning on constantly refilling a gun anyway with, like, venture or extra ammunition.
I did have a lot of fun. Like, I tend to use Mark a lot with these gunslinger ones just because he draws cards and he starts with 5 combat, right? Like, it's just he's built for it. And what I took is, where is it? Leather grip, so it's -1 cost and fast play only during your turn. And I took well maintained, and then I just took a bunch of level 0 guns. And so what I would do is I would attach custom modifications onto these lower level guns with well maintained. Sorry, and then when I would replace those guns, they would come back to my hand with all the upgrades I'd put on them, including this one. And then so I could play down, like, the gun I just played down to replace that gun, I now had a bunch of upgrades to put on it. And then I had the counterbalance, so after you put an upgrade on this card, other than custom mods, draw a card. So I'm just churning through my deck, churning through these, like, just 45s and Colt 45s and all these. It was a lot of fun. It was like
Gunslinging
guns.
has... Yeah, exactly. It's like gun kata.
Yeah. But yeah, the well-maintained was key to that because you just bring it back and then pop it out. Bring it back, pop it out. And you're just juggling these guns, drawing cards faster than you can handle. And especially in Mark. Like, so it's just basically guns, upgrades, and skills.
This is not a bad pull for your Voltron Becky deck either.
Oh yeah, this is like the card for Voltron Becky.
Yeah, some of the ones I used a lot are, like, extended stock, just like a +2 boost on top of whatever you get. Like, you pretty much probably won't need any more combat boosts after that play, especially if you are playing with someone like Mark. And then, like, I haven't quite gotten my build to Quicksilver bullets yet, but I'll probably get there because that seems enticing to get the extra damage. But the one that's interesting to me, because I probably won't take it in, like, a two-handed, but, like, if you get higher player counts, is the notch sight. Like, because if you think about, like, say you have a 3 or 4 player game, how many actions you can save not having to engage. Like, you know, we all do that thing of, like, fine, I guess I'll play it safe and engage it off you.
Not always.
Well,
Sometimes
not
we
always,
just shoot each other.
But this one, you don't have to worry about it. You can just fire away at whoever's around you. So it could be interesting.
All right. Scott, you want to move us on to the bracelet then?
I sure do. Subsidian Bracelet is a level 0 Guardian asset. It's 3 cost, has a willpower icon, item and charm traded. Obsidian Bracelet may only be assigned damage and or horror dealt by treachery effects. Obsidian Bracelet may be assigned damage and or horror dealt to other investigators at your location. And it has 3 health, 3 sanity. Takes up the hand slot. I'm middling on this, quite honestly.
Sure. Is it the hand slot?
Yeah,
For me, it's the hand slot.
in Guardian.
Yeah.
Like, this is doing a lot of cool things. But yeah, it soaks your hand slot too.
Yeah.
Like, I because I play a lot of multiplayer, I really like I can tank damage and horror from other players'
Mhm.
effects.
Yeah.
I really enjoy those, especially when you can get some extra kicker off of it.
Mhm.
But yeah, for a hand slot, that's rough. So you really have to you have to have a guardian that like doesn't care about its hands, I guess.
Vinny's middling feels generous. Well, you know
I
who
mean,
can
it's
take
cool. It's trying to do a cool thing.
it is. You know who can take this though is Amina, because it's charm traded. And then she can soak all that damage and horror that she's gonna get from all those treacheries she's gonna fail.
This
Because
changes
she has-
everything.
And it's just taking up the hand slot that normally would fit one of the items that actually lets her like do a thing.
Oh,
You know, the one investigator I like this in, and it makes sense it comes out on this box, is Carson, because I have builds where like he's not even using his hand slots because he's just like pure support. So yeah, sure, I'll just soak damage and horror for other investigators, and that's fine.
yeah.
I can see this maybe in a Sister Mary if you're leaning more purple for your damage and or clue acquisition. Like if you have a build where legitimately she doesn't care as much about her hand slots, then suddenly, yeah, 3 soak and Mary goes a long way.
Yeah. I think it's probably there's okay cases for it, but it doesn't excite me in general. But I did like it in Carson. That's a good idea because I'm usually taking the runic axe as we discussed.
Is this worth looking at in like Skids or Leo? Because this is another item that Lonnie can heal and then heal horror off herself. Maybe more Skids than Leo. Leo doesn't like suffer for soak.
I guess it depends on what you're doing with them, but I feel like still that
Yeah.
hand slot is just ooh.
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately what I always come down to is like, man, hand slots,
That slot,
like they have some juicy shit competing for it. It's gotta really have some spice to oust a hand slot.
If this was just changed to like an arcane slot or even accessory slot, I'd probably look at it way more. But yeah, it's so rough. Hand slot on this.
Yeah.
I mean,
What's-
bandoliers exist, I guess, in the same class. So,
Sure.
like, potentially, like, you've got a few ways to eke out an extra hand slot,
Isn't the
but you're not doing it for this, are
isn't
you?
the bangle of jinxes a bracelet? And
It is, and it takes up the
accessory?
accessory slot.
Yeah, okay, exactly. I rest my
This
case.
one you
Jonah.
gotta hold
the
in your
jangle
hand.
bangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rest my case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like what it's trying to do, but I don't know if it does it well enough to turn my head.
Yeah,
very often.
it's like a good soak on the face of it, but then the fact you can only assign from treachery effects, like, which is good. Like that, there are quite a bit of damage and horror that comes from treachery effects. But as a guardian, like your soaks, you kind of need to be able to soak up enemy attacks too. I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe this is kind of campaign specific in a way. Because, like, if I'm just following my example through, if I'm taking Mary into TFA, she's going to really want that 3 health. Like, that from Treachery Effects is going to make a difference. Maybe Edge of the Earth? Maybe Innsmouth? Nope. Innsmouth enemies do a lot of damage and horror.
Yeah,
Well, I'm out.
great talk.
Well, so let's go from wrist jewelry to ankle jewelry, and let's read Bolas, which is a level 0 guardian event. It is tactic traded. It is 1 cost. It has a combat and an agility icon. Evade. Attempt to evade using combat instead of agility. If you succeed and the enemy is non-elite, attach Bolas to it. Attached enemy gets -1 evade value, and the moment you've all been waiting for with this card, forced after attached enemy moves, exhaust it.
I love it.
It's I had put 2 of these in Kip's Mark deck for TFA, and
Oh yeah.
it's so good, and also like the visual of bolasing a snake somehow is kind of hilarious.
Oh yeah. Just makes me think my son watched a movie on the weekend where a snake got handcuffed.
Exactly.
It was just he had handcuffs on him. It just made me laugh. He didn't have arms or feet. It was just a snake with handcuffs.
But
It was a cartoon,
I mean,
by the
okay,
way, not a real one. Don't worry, no snakes were harmed. Yeah.
you're joking, but like
Sure.
handcuffs are a decent like comparison. Handcuffs are a little bit more niche in who they can affect, but obviously they're a little bit more effective. This can do any non-elite enemy. It disables an attack after hunting, which is pretty big. Like
Yep.
I love this so much in TFA. You
Yeah.
throw this on a vengeance enemy and you deal with it slowly and far more in a far more controlled fashion for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like Bolus. It's for certain. I don't even know if I say certain campaigns like TFA, obviously, but well, you know what? Also the Innsmouth, because once you
Yeah.
evade something, you probably want to run away from it because you don't want to engage it again. And this like it just gives you, oh man, especially whatever that scenario is where you have to go through go through the barricades.
In too deep.
In too deep. Yeah, I should have remembered. But like slowing that wave of enemies down. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, the murder ball. Yeah, I like this as another piece in the Guardian toolbox. I think it's easy to just kind of say that, well, Guardians can just kill everything. They don't need to evade. But if you play Guardians long enough, you'll find those situations where you do kind of need to evade an enemy for whatever reason. Maybe it's like you need to re-up your weapons or heal or whatever the case may be. Certain enemies, it doesn't benefit you to kill them or actually punish you. So just having an option there to be able to evade an enemy, and especially like for those hunters to slow them down so they can't chase you. There's just lots of situations that it's helpful to have this in your back pocket.
And kind of thinking it out, like a hunter enemy moves, it exhausts, it still engages you because it's not evaded, right? So it will still be engaged with you. It'll ready up during refresh. You're still gonna have to evade it again if it moved into you. So it gives you some space from damage, but it's still like the enemy's still a problem next turn. I think this is at its strongest when you can be one location ahead of your enemy on a big enough map, and just watch it like fall over its own shoelaces for the rest of the game. And it's really good in TFA. I'm just gonna throw that out there again. Try it; it's fun. You'll enjoy it. Probably a little bit more middling in other campaigns, I would imagine. I'm just trying to think. Other campaigns, what are some enemies that you just like don't want to... Oh, would you throw Bolas on a conglomeration of spheres, maybe?
ooh, yeah. If you could get that one time evade done, and then you could just like dance
Just stay
around
ahead of it.
Yeah. Because that's what this means to me, right? Like this is you just need to slow that thing down for like 2 turns so that you can get far enough through the map that you're never gonna have to think about it again. Like that's what this does to me. Like I don't think you're necessarily using this where it's gonna like a small map where you're gonna be bouncing into things all the time. But
Yeah.
isn't there something?
You know what? Enemies are not elite.
Oh man.
And every time they move, exhaust.
Oh,
Yeah.
our old
Isn't,
friends, the Broods.
In the Carcosa cycle, isn't there God, what are they called? Might be in Dunwich too, but the avian thralls? Don't they like
That's
double
Dunwich.
hunt? Isn't there like a flying or like there's the double hunt enemies? I know there's some that are
Is that the
elite.
lupine thrall?
Yeah.
Is that what the lupine thrall does? I can't remember what that one does. The avian thrall it has really high fight, but
Right.
you lower it if you're like doing it with range.
Yeah.
It has Arkham flying basically.
Yeah. I know there's a bunch of elite enemies like bosses with the double hunt, but I swear to good there's a non-elite version. I'm pretty sure. But anyways, I feel like we've breached this topic enough. Ian?
We sure have.
Okay. Let me breach the door. This is a Guardian event. Cost 2, has the intellect and combat icons, Insight, Tactic, and Police traits. You can test Combat 1. If you succeed, attach Breach the Door to your location with 1 resource on it for each point you succeeded by as leads. Reduce attached location Shroud by 1 for each lead on Breach the Door.
What say you, Ian? Besides, it's a tactic, so Mark can take it.
Again, it's in some ways kind of a similar card to Bolas, and like being letting Guardians do something a little bit differently. In this case, it's letting Guardians contribute to investigating in a little bit of a different way. So I actually like this one particularly in like higher player counts, where you're like reducing the shroud, but it's not just like if you're in a 2-player game, you have what, like 2 clues on a location, so you maybe need a couple of investigate tests. But if you're talking about like 3 or 4 player, then you're getting quite a bit of value out of this if you think about how many investigate tests have to be done on that location.
I always think of this being very specific with something like the Blood on the Altar, you know, when you get into the room with Silas there, and something like that, right, where it's near the end of the scenario and there's a big location that needs lots of clues, or there's 1 or 2 locations that are 2 clues per investigator, it's 5 shroud or something like that.
Or how about the underground locations in Dark Side of the Moon?
Those ones
9 shroud.
Is it 9?
Or like it starts high and then
it's something
lower
very
it.
high.
Right. But can you only lower it by... Oh, I guess you could... Yeah.
You can only get clues by investigating.
Right.
But I think this still works. Unless that one says no player card attachments or some bullshit like that.
But yeah, locations like that, right? Like it's a silver bullet for tricky locations. I wouldn't take this in every deck just like, oh, this is a generally good card. It's a very narrow window, but it does... It's a Star Wars CCG card is what it is.
It's a silver bullet.
Yeah.
If you get the shroud, you know, and if you get that sweet spot of getting a shroud down to 0, like we were trained early on the benefits of getting a location
Sub-Zero
shroud
Joe in the
down
chat.
to 0.
Can I have
A
some
flashlight, so.
skeleton key? We have skeleton key at home. Here's skeleton key.
And I mean, it's worth mentioning, this isn't like a Scarlet Keys spoiler, because it's part of like the core mechanics of the campaign that you can just read about, like exposing cards. That one of the ways you can expose a card is investigating based on shroud. Like this is, you know, it came out. This came out in the Scarlet Keys expansion, so it kind of makes sense that this is. Yeah, so this is. Yeah, they're all based on shroud. So if you're able to get the shroud down on like a key location where
if you can get that shroud down to 0, like on any of these locations, now everyone can help with investigating, right? Like that's so
or
if your guardian can just absolutely obliterate this test, then yeah.
And that is kind of the one downside for me, and I know I just have, you know, historically bad luck, but like the fact that it's a test gives me like some stomach acid because I'm throwing this in there. I'm taking an action. I'm paying 2 resources. If this hits,
that's valid.
Yes, yes to everything you guys have said so far. 1,000 times yes. But there's going to be those times where you throw this down and you either draw like that -5 that's lurking and you only put 1 resource on it and you're just like, ugh. Or you draw the tentacle and it's just a whole thing. Edge case, obviously, but the fact that it is a test to do this means that it's not... It's just not as sure a thing as I would want this type of effect to be. But it is.
You just gave me anxiety talking about that shot.
Well, me too.
I can see the token pull in my mind.
But like, I think the skeleton key is a good comparison. Kind of that type of effect to lower the shroud. Skeleton key lowers it to 1. The benefit that skeleton key has is you can move that. Little action intensive, I think, is the reason it doesn't get played. But I also just never see skeleton key get played. Do you think it's... I think the argument for TSK is the strongest one because of expose and how all of that hinges on a location shroud. And as I may have mentioned, there's a lot of 4s. There's too many 4s. So that's not bad.
Yeah, I think the
But,
fact
like,
that it's a test
you're gonna
of
want
one.
to pump into this test.
Yeah, but I think the fact it's a test of one, it's not testing the shroud too. Like that's when I first read it way back. I was like, oh god, like what? I have to test like 5 to 5 on these high. I'm like, oh wait, no, it's test 1.
Yeah, but like,
So-
what do you want to succeed by? How many resources do you want to throw on this thing most of the time? Like, if you're taking the time to include this and play it, how many resources do you want to see? At least 3, right?
Probably.
Maybe 2 will make a difference, but I want to see 3 plus. And even if you're starting at a 5, like, I'm gonna want to pump into this test. So it's I think this card costs more than just this card because of that test.
Oh, absolutely. But I think the benefit of it, I think you are essentially pumping into a test that's going to save you actions.
Mm-hmm.
And actions are the most valuable resource, as we all know.
Yeah, absolutely. and now that we have so many options for doing things with low shroud, particularly out of the survivor cards we got in this box. I'm thinking like Lola Santiago. If you can get a shroud to 0, then we all know how fun she can be.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just take one of them.
Okay, and that one's mine. Ooh, piece of candy.
Yeah, and any cards that like potentially key off investigating by a certain amount, like your scavengings or what have you, that could help. I feel like this card. Add this to the list of cards that should interact with locked door, but don't. they should automatically discard. Like I'm just picturing like they break down the door and then there's just another door just beyond it. It's still locked.
All right. Well, hello there, Scott.
Hi.
Would you like to read Grievous Wound? Sorry,
General
I did an Obi-Wan joke.
Kenobi.
Okay, thank you. I did an Obi-Wan joke and it was very weird.
Grievous Wound is a 1-cost Guardian event, 0 XP, level 0. 2 combat icons, tactic traded, so Mark can take it. Fast, play after you successfully attack a non-elite enemy using a melee asset. Attach Grievous Wound to the attacked enemy. Forced, at the end of the round, deal 1 damage to the attached enemy. This is gonna hurt. Guy has a sick beard too, on the art.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. I don't know. This one, like, I mean, if you're fighting a brood, I guess, but you're not going to hit them with a melee asset. Successfully attack. But they wouldn't be dealt a damage. How do broods work? Anyways, okay, let's leave broods out of this because broods are weird.
They can only take damage from the.
Okay, that's where it is, yeah. Because you could attack them and successfully attack them, but they would not take damage.
Correct.
But then you could attach this, but then it would still not take damage from the effect. Okay.
This is not going to hurt.
Yeah. This one, to be honest, I haven't played it and I don't plan to.
Okay, so hear me out.
Okay. As I just go both barrels in. This is
No, and I was initially, when we first pulled this card up, I was like, oh, I'm gonna flame this thing. But as we sat here reading it, it's got 2 combat icons, which is not nothing.
Okay.
Is it Vicious Blow 3 and 4? Kinda. Like it's not as good, admittedly.
Yeah.
But it's fast and it's 1 resource, so it is economically pretty cheap. And it squeaks an extra damage out without having to spend an action.
At the end of the round, though. So this
then
still...
that's the kicker. So you have to get hit. You will likely get hit.
Like, unless you're combining this with Stunning Blow in, like, Yorick or something, maybe I could see it. But then you're kind of... Yeah.
Man, just throw Bolas and Grievous Wound on the same enemy and just, like, fuck up some enemy's day.
Yeah.
Just absolutely ruin his week.
Something that's, like, 4 per investigator health. But Teacup Survival Knife.
Oh, hey, yeah, there's another 1-up for Survival Knife. I'll always +1 a Survival Knife.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
It's niche.
It goes in the Porcupine Tony deck. Or Tommy deck, sorry.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, this is actually not a terrible Daniela card. since it's level 0, in that kind of porcupine deck, you know, she hits it with a sledgehammer, she throws this on it, it attacks her, and then she gets 2 bonus damage before the next turn starts.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I can see those niche uses for it.
Mm-hmm.
This one's
It's another tactic, so Mark can take it.
Yeah, I mentioned
case
that, but
anyone
it's
was-
good to bring that out again. Yeah, because of the tactics trait. That's why
This
Mark
is
can
it.
take it. Just so everyone's clear.
Specifically.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yes, that's
I feel like
the
everyone
only
needs
reason.
to know
Yeah.
every time.
Mm-hmm. This is a card I'll probably include in a lot of decks right before I cut it.
Know thyself, Ian.
I can see the future that way. I like these kind of like janky cards, but
Yeah.
it's just it's tough to get there because like outside of the I think this is something to look at in those porcupine builds. I like that. That's what we're calling them now. Where you are planning on staying engaged with enemies, and so you can't afford to like just let this go off, and you're just like pinging enemies to death. But for a lot of killers and guardians, like your plan A is to not let enemies survive to the enemy phase. And yes, it does happen, but it's I'm half joking when I say that about cutting it, but it's just because I do know how this goes. This is the kind of card that you like include because it seems interesting, but it's like it's hard to find deck space for cards that are addressing like your plan C needs, you know, like when things have like gone totally off the rails and like not gone according to plan, which does happen. But it's just hard to find space
that
for those
why
kind
I
of
lose?
cards. and it's
'Cause I
like,
cut plan
you're probably
C?
gonna use the space.
Well,
for...
and then Ian, to that point, I think like if you have a Plan C card, why don't you just replace it for a card that will help Plan A and Plan B?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I would try this
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Daniela, and like the porcupine build we've been talking about. Super niche though. I don't know. I'm not wowed.
Yeah, there's no like weird janking loopery you can do with this either. It's just like this is one and done. I mean, maybe I mean, this sounds kind of cruel. Like if you've got a high health humanoid enemy, you slap handcuffs on them, hit them once with your, machete, and then just let them bleed out as they follow you around the rest of the game. No, I
God,
hate
that
this.
is like-
I hate this so much.
That was a real motivational speech, Sean.
All right, let's move on. Motivational Speech is a level 0, cost 0 Guardian event. It has a willpower and an intellect icon. It has spirit trait. Parlay. Choose an investigator at your location. That investigator may play an ally asset from their hand, reducing its cost by 3. Think they bought it? They certainly do not suspect the world is ending, Mr. Kane.
Is this
right.
Charlie's actual signature cards?
This is quite good.
Well, Bonnie's
Quite good
good
in
though,
Charlie.
too, so.
Mm.
And what's his name? Old grumpy guy who throws allies out every turn.
Leo.
Leo, thank you.
Oh, you think he needs additional cost
yeah.
reduction? Because this is a separate action from his ability.
Yeah, but that means he can just put out 2 allies that turn.
That's true.
I think like
Sometimes you want to.
if you're running like
Mm-hmm.
like 8 allies in Leo or something, I think this is perfectly fine to throw in. Plus the parlay makes it so it's not an attack of opportunity if you're engaged.
Mm.
Oh
We'll
yeah.
definitely use this in Carson. Just another support tool.
Yeah, like
Help
if you're
someone else get an
talking
ally
about
out.
like this as a card to support just your deck, I think the value proposition changes greatly. What's the lowest ally count for your single deck if you're planning to use this for yourself that would be acceptable to you? Like 4?
I think I'd have to be at 6.
Okay.
To include 2 copies of this,
Sure.
probably 6.
Okay.
And I'd consider
That's valid. That said, in multiplayer, when presumably everyone's going to be playing allies and it is just a thing, as long as you can table talk well enough to coordinate it, that's a thing. This is pretty solid, and it's a parlay. So even if you're engaged with an enemy, you can still do this without invoking an attack of opportunity, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it kind of works on multiple levels. Like for yourself, you can do that through the parlay, or it's a good multiplayer tool of like someone else needs to get an ally out, but they're stuck with an enemy. You can help them do that. So, and sometimes like if you're like main killer in a multiplayer game, you do get those turns sometimes where just like no enemies pop up or everyone else handled them, and you're like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And this is gives you an option of something to do.
Do you still play Uncage the Soul, Sean, as a Mystic player?
You know, it's been a minute at level 0 anyway. It's been a minute since I've included that in a deck. I just think Mystic has a lot of entertaining economy cards.
Yeah.
So I'd say I think probably Dexter is the last deck I included Uncage in. But yeah, it's a good comparison.
Yeah.
Too bad Uncaged invokes an attack of opportunity.
Yeah, that's the thing, hey. But I was just curious because it feels like, I mean, it's like the sister card to that in Guardian.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
But I think it's better.
I think so too, particularly in its class, because as good as Uncage is in a spell heavy deck, like Guardian is poor a lot.
Yeah.
Particularly at lower levels of XP. And this is a pretty decent boost in that regard.
Though this is very much more to a nicher deck than Uncage, because Uncage is like 95% of Mystics, 95% plus could use it. You know what I mean? As far as like could use it, whereas this one is like, I don't know, the odds of using it in a normal deck with 2 allies pretty low. So, Ian, you got one in the chamber?
I'm not sure how to answer that. Yes, one in the chamber is a Guardian event. Fortune and tactic traits. Cost 1, has a combat and an agility icon. Fast. Play at the end of an attack or effect that spends the last ammo from a firearm asset you control. Got enough conditions there. Add 1 ammo to that asset. You get +3 skill value for your next attack with that asset this round. This card did a good job filling space in my Gunslinger Mark deck, and it held some space so that I could quickly replace them with extra ammunition.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. I was gonna say like I'd play this over extra ammunition. Well, maybe I need to caveat that
3 bullets.
If I'm doing like
1?
Voltron, I want to keep this specific gun around for a really long time type of build. Yeah, I take it back. But in a deck where you're already gonna be filtering guns as you go, like fast 1 XP, both an ammo and a skill boost, like that's pretty solid.
0 XP.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I meant 1 cost, 0 XP.
Yeah. I could see this in like a sleight of hand with Lupara,
Sure.
so that you get like 3 like boom boom boom.
This is really good with shotgun, I must say. In Nick's absence, this is probably its best show is shotgun.
Yeah.
Is flamethrower a firearm traded?
I mean, it's literally fire coming out of your arms. I actually don't know.
I felt stupid asking the question, but I still had to ask.
It is a firearm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank God.
Firearms.
The most literal of the firearms in this game.
And if you use it wrong, then you will have firearms.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, at a level 0 deck with, I can see it. Yeah.
Like it kind of depends on the gun you're replenishing, as all of these do.
Yeah, I was being a little bit dismissive of it, mostly for a joke. But yeah, I think it does have a role in the...
Sorry, Ian.
I think it does have a role in like you do get stuck in those situations sometimes where you spend the last ammo and you're still stuck in the middle of the turn. So being able to get that extra ammo and you get the skill boost. I do... The part of it that's not a joke is I think this is the type of card that gets replaced as you level up. This is like one of those prime candidates where I think it does work at level 0, but I think it can get replaced by better cards as you get XP.
Unless with was it custom modifications, this would add 2 ammo if you took that certain
That's true.
upgrade. But
I was just thinking about old shotgun, but that's a non-bow, isn't it? Is old shotgun the one I'm thinking about? The one that starts with 0 ammo? But if it starts with 0 ammo,
yes.
how the hell are you going to play this? Yeah, it's just a non-bow.
mind.
I take
Sorry,
it
it is
all
the
back.
non-bow that way. Yeah.
So if you have another card that adds ammo, then this one can supplement that other card.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's interesting. It's very conditional, but it doesn't ask a whole lot of you. I think your guys' assessment that it's like a level 0 card that usually gets upgraded out is probably pretty apt.
Yeah, maybe into extra ammo or something. Yeah.
All right. Where are we? Ian? Fighting lessons?
No, he just read.
That was Ian. Yeah, so Scott, you fighting
Oh,
lessons.
yeah. Fighting lessons. It is a Guardian level 0 skill. Combat and agility and wild icon. Practiced. Commit only to a skill test during an attack or evasion attempt. You can commit this skill to an investigator's test at any location. Great Carson card.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty decent. If you like,
I think it's a great multiplayer card, right?
Yeah, like this is pretty good.
Great Amanda multiplayer card. It's practiced, yo.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, practice
like
makes
that.
perfect too.
Ooh.
So you can grab it and save it for later on. Yeah.
And I appreciate
Carolyn?
it's not as good. Carolyn.
Carolyn to help her friends.
I appreciate that one wild on here because occasionally this will help a mystic hit a willpower test on an attack or evade. Once in a while. Not often, but it will happen.
Yeah. And and to me that willpower icon is, or that wild icon just makes it so great where it's essentially 2 combat or 2 agility. It's like one of the was it manual dexterity or overpower, right? Without the card draw. So
I appreciate the like 1950s gun safety manual energy that the art exudes.
It really does. It really does. I find the Guardian skill slot to be very competitive because there's some like Guardian skills that I always take or usually take, like Vicious Blue, obviously, take the initiative. What are some of the other big ones? There's another one, but I can't remember offhand.
Take the initiative. Oh no, you just said take the initiative.
But I do think
Maybe Steadfast.
could be, yeah. But I could see specifically in like 3 or 4 player games this making the cut, even despite that, just because of being able to commit it to anyone.
Oh, daring.
Is it daring?
Daring.
Yeah, okay. It was probably daring that you were thinking of because Scott and I both got there at the same time.
Daring.
Yeah, the Guardian skills it's a tight race. But yeah, I think, yeah. And this could even be for off Guardians who are helping out, or giving someone a helping hand, Sean.
As you do. So Helping Hand is another Guardian skill. It's level 0. It is innate traded, so Silas could take it possibly. You may commit Helping Hand to any type of test, max 1 committed per test. While Helping Hand is committed to a skill test, double the skill icons of each other card committed to that test.
Oh boy.
So obviously super good in Carson.
Yep. Good
in assuming you can coordinate with the other player, because this is the only thing you're going to be able to commit.
Yeah.
So if whatever they are committing, you got to coordinate in that way. So it does ask a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you could also do this in like a skid succeed by something deck. Like the rogue, succeed by 2 or more or whatever.
Sure. Hit big test rogue.
Yeah, it's just, when you're putting in all those skill cards, like 3 or 4 things, and then you're like, sweet, now I double everything. Yeah. And you could use double or nothing. Oh. Wait. Sorry. This to me is a combo deck helper or a friendly hand from Carson. I don't think I just take this in like yield average deck.
Yeah. This almost feels like the kind of card like, okay, so hypothetical world, you're building a Carson deck for a meetup. You don't know who you'll be playing with. Do you include this card?
Who I don't know I'll be playing with? Oh, yes.
You don't know. Okay,
Oh.
all right. Well, then my other option was, or is this the card where you're comboing with someone, or you've got something specific in mind to like blow a test out of the water?
Also,
and that's
yes.
when you include it. Well, I mean, obviously, if the first one applies, then the other one applies too.
I that's the thing though. I love the versatility of it, but I wouldn't bring that versatility to my own deck where I'm just trying to do normal things at a normal pace, right? Like I'm Ursula getting clues. I'm Mark shooting guys. Like, I think there's better skill cards to bring. So to me, this is a wombo combo. Let's blow tests out of the water, and that's gonna make big things happen. Or it's I am planning to bring this in Carson to be or whoever support guardian you want to bring, like Carolyn maybe, that you want to help others make their normal tests really easy or easier. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of feel this is another one that's like a higher player count play for me. Because the advantage here is that it doubles the icons of each other card. So, in theory, with more players, you have more cards potentially committed to the test. Whereas, like, as you get the lower player counts, I'm kind of in that place where I feel like I might as well just have, like, unexpected courage and like wild icons that I can just commit, because you're roughly gonna get the same value. Like the value really comes, one is like the versatility, like you said, Scott, so that is one thing it can give you, but it really feels like this is something that's more for those tests where people are really committing quite a bit of cards to it, but you gotta have like space for this kind of piece.
Or you're playing across from an Amanda.
Yes. Yep.
Well, my brain is on Amanda tonight. Clearly, I need to play her again.
Yeah. I would consider this in Silas, just playing like even solo.
Yeah, you think so? Then,
yeah.
But like then, okay, so what are you committing this with? Quick thinking?
Whatever I'm doing that turn where I would like a second copy of it, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Just because he's so skill oriented. I don't think I do that with any other investigator. Like Amanda, if she could take it. Could she take it?
And you could pull this back with True Survivor. Amanda cannot take it herself.
Right.
Yeah. All right, cool.
All right.
Well, let's move on to a very similar energied card, Bestow Resolve. Ian?
Bestow Resolve is a guardian asset. Cost 2, level 2, gives you a willpower icon. Ritual trait, uses 4 charges. Free trigger Zappy Boy during a skill test performed by an investigator at your location or a connecting location. Spend 1 charge. Commit a non-weakness card from your hand to that skill test, treating all of its skill icons as wild. And it takes up arcane slot.
2 XP, huh?
Boy, that does put it in off-class access, doesn't it?
It does. And there are a lot of, like... You know those cards where they don't put a wild icon on it, but they just put they put 3 different icons on it?
Right, it's like Diet Wild.
Yeah, it's like, Mom, I want a wild icon. We have it at home, And then you actually don't because it's the one you're missing. I guess there's a few of those, like Eureka and Resourceful are probably the ones that jump to mind. Oh, and what's the rogue one where you're gambling, the guy's shooting the guns, and you put a 1 to 3
Watch
resources
this.
in. Thank you. And now instead of like that adding 1 to the test, it's 3.
Inspiring Presence is another one.
Mm-hmm.
I think Not Without a Fight. Does that have 3, or is that just willpower? Or is that just it does have willpower, right? Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up. That's cool though. That turns those into a 1 from a 1 into a 4 when blessed by bestow resolve.
1 into a 3. 1 into a 3.
Oh, never mind. Treating all of its icons. I thought it gained
Yeah.
1 too. Yep. So 1 into a 3.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sweet. That's still good.
Yeah, I guess depends.
I appreciate this as a mystic because it means that suddenly a like a vicious blow can help a willpower attack.
In Diana.
Uh-huh. Granted, this does take up an arcane slot, so that kind of fights
Yeah.
a little bit. But
Yeah.
this is kind of meant to be a multiplayer card, right?
But hey, we have ways to expand your arcane slot repertoire now.
We
So,
sure do. We
yeah.
sure do. I also like that Akachi can take this. That's fun.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know if she can take many cards that combo with it particularly well, but she can take this.
Yeah.
I mean, do you look at it in a Preston? No, not a Preston. A Carson? Sorry, I just went. I did the gamut. I did the millionaire, then I did the butler.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I could maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like my Preston. Thank you for that. My Carson decks, like the 30 cards are pretty full. This one feels like something I'm gonna look at. Not like it's card 31 and 32. You know.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 XP is a little rough.
Yeah.
If you're getting 2 copies, that's 4 XP. I do like the ability, like all of a sudden your hand is very versatile, and especially for those scenarios where it's asking you to take lots of different types of skill tests. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those I need to actually try out to see how good it is. On the surface, it seems like one of those ones that I would probably cut from the final build. But
Now, one thing that I feel like is important, at least for me to point out, because it wasn't apparent to me the first time I read it, is that this is an ability that lets you commit a card. So this is in addition to the one you can normally commit. So if you
Yeah.
are going like skill, I'm helping, that Carson type build, whether it's out of Carson or out of someone else, this gets you around the I can only commit 1 card to you type
Yes.
situation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll take this in my next Carson game. See how it goes. Vinny offers too. York likes this.
Oh, Yorick does like this.
Yeah.
This hops back out pretty easily in Yorick.
Yeah. And also, remember all those cards where what were they? They had 6 icons on them if you were like full health, and they lose them as they go.
If
You
you're
really
full
like the
health.
Guardian one.
Yeah, you mean Steadfast?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there was other ones like that too, wasn't there?
Yeah, but they hinge on different things.
Right.
Yep.
'Cause
Yeah,
that
but
could-
those are good if you meet the conditions, because they gain 2 additional instances of an icon if you meet the condition and can count all of the icons as the same thing.
So you could do that would be 6 wild.
Yep.
Neat.
If you're maxed out on it, that's pretty solid.
Yeah,
People pay a curse token for that shit normally.
they do.
And by people, I mean me every time. I can't stop including Promise of Power in my decks, guys.
I mean, it's worth it.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, let's move on then to Field Agent, Scott.
Field Agent is a Guardian asset, 4 costs, level 2. Intellect and Agility icon. Ally and Agency traded. You get +1 Intellect. And then Zappy Boy, exhaust Field Agent and deal 1 horror to it. Discover 1 clue at your location. 2 health, 2 sanity, and the ally trait.
Uh-huh.
Go
off, King.
Well, I really liked her when she first came. I say her because it looks female in the picture, but I really liked the Field Agent at first. But man, that 4 cost
It's not nothing.
is large. You can only do this twice. Unless
Lucas
you're
Guardian
healing.
has no way to heal horror.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like Carolyn's signature ally now, right? Like
Yeah.
this turns
Oh, for
Kluber
sure.
Carolyn into
Mm-hmm.
a way more consistent machine.
Yes, this is like in Carolyn. This is amazing. Plus, you also get that like the +1 intellect, which Carolyn can
Mhm.
actually use.
Yes.
This is fantastic in Carolyn. I'm struggling to think of another investigator. I mean, maybe Yorick, because you could bring it back out, but that's a big
spendy.
cost. So
God, I'm trying to remember what I included this in recently. I remember coming away from the experience very positive, so now I have to remember.
I mean, I guess, well, you wouldn't use the intellect boost, but Mark, maybe, because you have another something to put damage on, and also you're grabbing clues.
Maybe.
I guess I could see this in solo guardians, some who have like struggle to pick up clues. You know, like Nathaniel Cho.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it was just my Charlie deck. I think it was just my Charlie deck.
I could see it in Charlie.
Yeah.
Because you're getting the base intellect boost, and then you can exhaust them either for the horror to grab a clue or whatnot. But
Yeah, like it kind of does double duty depending on what you need that turn.
mm-hmm.
Ian, you're remarkably silent on this card.
I've been thinking long and hard about it. I've mostly been trying to think about like cards that can heal horror from allies and how easy, like there's Inspiring Presence, but you can do that like twice through one cycle. There's a few other options. It's tough. I do like it overall. It's kind of like the beat cop counterpart for getting clues. It's mostly just, I don't know. I guess the thing I'm wrestling with is like, how much do you need to like try to squeeze extra value out of it through healing, or how much is it worth it just on its own to give you that passive boost and then get you like the 2 clues essentially before it dies. And I haven't solved that dilemma in my head yet. I'm not sure.
I mean, okay, so like a static intellect boost in Guardian, that's good, just by itself.
Mhm.
Yep.
4 cost is not nothing, as you say, Scott. People play Luxley, right? People play Alice Luxley.
Yep.
Luckily, do you think she's like 2 XP better than Alex Luxley? Because
No.
she works in the other direction. When you discover a clue, you do a damage.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not really comparable, then, is she?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm okay saying it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends on your function, but yeah, it's a good option to have in Guardian, like in class, like.
And again,
this plugs a hole for some investigators in some situations.
great in Carolyn.
Yes. Probably pretty okay in Leo too. Come to think of it, maybe all right in Tommy because you like refund at least 2 of that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to an ally that we all know we're gonna love
We all know him. We all love him.
because we all love him already, or her.
And he's a good boy.
That's right. He's the goodest boy. He's the second goodest boy after Duke.
Yep.
That would be Guard Dog. So we have level 2 Guard Dog is still a 3 cost Guardian ally, has ally and creature traits, has a willpower and combat icon, now has 4 health, 2 sanity. Free triggered action, exhaust Guard Dog. Engage an enemy at your location. That enemy attacks you. Reaction, when an enemy attack deals damage and or horror to Guard Dog, deal 1 damage to the attacking enemy. And this card was designed by the Council in Exile at Arkham Knights 2020, that virtual Arkham Knights that everyone went to, I'm sure. Well, at least the Council in Exile went to it.
Good job,
Wow,
Council
this would be
in
really good
Exile.
in this would be really good in Diana. Hey, Sean?
Okay, I thought you were going to say this is going to be really good in Daniela, and I was about to be like heartbroken again.
Sorry, I did meant to be Daniela. I said Diana by accident.
I know. Well, get ready for another heartbreaker, Scott.
Let the air out of that
wait.
balloon.
Yeah. Just monitoring weather up here. Don't worry about me.
Yeah. I mean, yes, regular guard dog is fantastic in Daniela. This would have been great. Pretty decent in Diana. Like, there's, I mean, it's guard dog with extra soak
Mm-hmm.
and an actionless engage at
Yeah.
the cost of an attack. But if you're including guard dog, that's probably okay. It's a glow up to a card that already looked pretty damn good. I don't know about you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think when the core set first came out, I was like, yeah, beat cop all the way. But it only took me like a cycle or two to be like, no, guard dog's level 0, and then maybe you go to beat cop. But guard dog
Yeah.
is just good.
Mm-hmm.
So like across the board, this is good, and only for 2 XP, still in off class range. Like,
Yeah.
love this upgrade.
Yeah, it's one of those upgrades that I think I don't usually prioritize early on. But hey, Porcupine Tommy, here comes the deck list.
Yep.
But it's one of those cards that, I have that 2 XP hanging around. I'm like, you know what? This is a perfectly fine upgrade to take. And that action saving engage is fantastic.
And the fact you
And
get a
this
little
also-
bit of horror soak, and it triggers off of horror compared to
Yeah,
the
it triggers off
level
of
0.
horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,000 times. Yeah. All right. Well, fun. Let's move on to another upgrade, which is handcuffs. Ian. Oh, Ian. Yes.
I
Sure.
lost track, but sure. Handcuffs, guardian asset, cost 1, level 2, has the combat and agility icons, item and police traits, fast, action. If handcuffs is not attached to an enemy, evade, use only on a humanoid enemy. This evasion attempt uses combat instead of agility. If you succeed, remove all doom from the just evaded enemy and attach handcuffs to it. If the attached enemy is non-elite, it cannot ready, and doom cannot be placed on it. I'm going to have to go ahead and pull up the original to remind myself of the differences here.
I can tell you what, it's not fast, and that makes a pretty goddamn big difference, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Not fast. It costs 1 less. It's 1 cost instead of 2.
It doesn't, level 0 doesn't remove the doom, it just prevents further doom.
Yeah.
If I'm
that's it.
recalling
That's true.
correctly.
Yeah,
That's-
that's the other.
and that's
major
pretty
difference.
important.
Yeah.
Because possibly the best use of any handcuff is to go on a goddamn Brotherhood cultist that's got out of hand.
Is that
God, TFA has left grooves.
Is that the enemy in Arkham that occupies the most mental space for us? It always leads back to the Brotherhood cultists.
I
feel
mean,
like,
I
yeah.
can't imagine a single player who's gone through that campaign that doesn't have like a blood vendetta to settle against that enemy.
And you know what?
I'll remember it to my grave.
On top of all of this great stuff for this card, it's also a Magali. So
Oh yeah, look at
There
that.
you go.
I never clocked that.
yeah.
I can usually tell by her like portraits, her faces, but
Yeah.
the other stuff she does
This
is
one
a
doesn't.
little less common.
I could tell by the fingernails. Just kidding. I could tell by the fact that it said Magali at the bottom of the card.
That helps.
Yeah.
Interesting. So again, in off class range, which is nice. I mean, this is kind of a cultist killer for the most part, right? Like, what humanoid
Yeah.
enemy are you throwing this on that's not a cultist?
Yeah.
There's probably a small number, but
Yeah. I think this depends on the campaign. TFA obviously is really great. But it's also, I don't know, I've kind of come to liking handcuffs. Oddly enough, like to deal with larger humanoid enemies.
sure.
Oh, Tika brings up Tommy Malloy.
Oh, Tommy, just throw some handcuffs on Tommy. Yeah, it doesn't say non-weakness, does it? It just
Nope.
says non-elite.
Mm-hmm.
Surely
Oh.
Tommy's elite.
No, they don't put elite on.
On weaknesses? Oh, that's
On-
wonderful.
I don't think so, at least.
I don't believe so. No.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I appreciate that. Don't start putting elite on
Yeah.
weaknesses, please.
Yeah, Tommy Malloy. Wow, is this Nacho's actual other signature card?
I mean, it's really good in Nacho. I also really like this in Yorick. Like I know
Yeah.
it's very easy to say, hey, cheap asset that's good, Yorick, but in particular.
Mm-hmm.
I really think this is good in Parallel Roland because I think he can take the most cards that give you a bonus when there's an enemy at your location. If I'm remembering correctly, and if you can just handcuff an enemy, engage it, and then drag it around with you for the rest of the campaign or the rest of the scenario, then that's pretty fun.
And you know what? If you have the magnifying scope or whatever, the scope attachment on a gun, and you're playing Mark, and you engage something, and you can't get away, you can just handcuff them so they can't move, walk away, and then shoot them with your sniper gun. So there
Hold
you go.
these.
just doing a whole war crime there, but don't worry about that. It's fine.
Oh no!
Oh god.
I feel
I'm gonna shoot this apple off your head. Hold still.
I feel like the fast does a lot of work here for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big part of the level.
It always does.
The level 0 that whenever it's like what's a good word for it? Like it kind of like the luxury assets. Like they're not doing like your bread and butter. They're not like your weapon that's killing things. They're like these extras. They have a cool effect, but they're kind of extra. That's when it's always
they're reactive.
It's always painful
reactive
because
assets.
like for these kind of things, it's like the action to play it and then the action to use it, and fast kind of smooths that over. I guess my question is, do you guys think, like, we've all heard these different stories or maybe have tried them of like fun like combo plays with handcuffs, like for example like keeping an enemy with you so you can just trigger these effects. Do you think handcuffs...
There's the Lola one.
Yeah, there's
right?
the Lola one with Stubborn Detective. But do you guys think like handcuffs is mainly good as a combo piece, or is it also good as just like a utility piece of like, oh, I just need to lock down this enemy?
I think it's good as utility now. Like it's
more so in some campaigns than others, but
I guess especially like the cultist heavy scenarios, because one of the maybe underrated aspects of an effect like this is you kind of take that enemy out of circulation. So if it's one that's especially annoying, Brotherhood cultist, and it's if it's a multiplayer game, you're gonna keep seeing those same enemies over and over again. But if you take it out of circulation with something like handcuffs, then at least that copy of it, there's one fewer copy that you don't need to worry about.
And Tika brings up Deep One Bulls.
Ooh, I keep forgetting Deep Ones are humanoids. That's a good pull.
That's a really good
God, fuck the bulls so hard.
Yeah.
I think Innsmouth is a good scenario for that one. It's
the fact that the bull does not have VP is insulting. Personally insulting.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, you got to be prepared for the worst, right?
Are you prepared for the next card that's also an upgrade, Scott?
Prepared for the worst is a Guardian event. It is 0 cost, 2 XP now. Test icon, it has icons: intellect, combat, and agility. It is tactic traded, so Mark can take it. Choose an investigator at your location. That investigator searches the top 9 cards of their deck for a weapon asset, adds it to their hand, or plays it, paying its resource cost, and shuffles their deck. Yeah, you know what? If I'm playing Voltron Tommy, or Sniper Mark, or anti-aircraft gun Skids, yeah, it's good.
Love it.
So for the 2 XP, you gain the ability to play it after finding it, and you gain the ability to multiplayer it.
Yeah, and it costs 1 less.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah,
that's pretty decent for 2 XP.
Yeah.
Do you think you include this as a general purpose card, or is this like always going in a deck where you're digging for a specific type weapon?
I think it's got to be a specific one.
Okay, same.
Like it's got to be like a build around. Like Ian, you had a flamethrower with the Venturers and stuff like that. Like that kind of deck, I think.
Yeah. Like I put this in Diana decks to find her knife to cycle stuff.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. I was just curious because that's how I feel about level 0 as well. But I was curious if like this adds enough that you would consider putting this in, like, say, a Carson deck, even if you didn't have one in particular you were digging for. Again, I think the blind Carson like test is actually pretty apt. Like, if you know nothing about where you're going and you're building a Carson deck, does this make it?
I don't think so. Not for 2 XP. I feel like
Sure.
I feel like you can better spend that XP somewhere else. In a face checking a no friends encounter at a game store with Carson build. Whatever we want to call that test. Face check friends.
Yeah, I use Prepared for the Worst, the base version, a lot, just because I do like those kind of combo-y, mega weapony decks, like even like your ornate bows if you have off-class guardian access, like a Skids, for example. So I do like this upgraded version for what it gives you and being able to play it right away, and the multiplayer aspects. I do think it.
You know what?
I do think it's kind of a later upgrade in a campaign. Like, I don't. Oh, but then you're not getting as much value for it because
I think it's a very
tough
like
one. Yeah,
it's a very bougie upgrade, right? Like it's
yeah.
this
Champagne upgrades over here.
This is one of the last upgrades I think you take in your deck.
Yeah, because I was gonna say it's like one you take at the end, but then like these kind of fetch cards, like it feels like you need to take it earlier in the campaign to get like your full value out of it. You know what I mean? But then
Yeah, but you're getting so much value out of the level 0 one anyways.
yeah, so then why are you
Right?
upgrading in the first place?
Yeah, that's I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, as we sit here and talk about it in the comparison of level 0 to this, I would gladly still pay 1 resource for this if it dug like 12 or 15.
Yeah, the deeper dig. Yeah.
I really wish it dug deeper, but you know, I guess that's why you play with Mandy. All right, well, brace yourself for this next one, guys. It's the Martyr's Vambrace, Remnant of the Unknown. It is a level 3 Guardian asset. 2 cost. It has item, charm, and armor traits. It has willpower and a wild icon. It has 2 health and 2 sanity. You get +1 skill value while resolving revelation abilities on encounter cards. Reaction: after another investigator at your location draws a non-peril encounter card, before resolving that card's effects, exhaust Martyr's Vambrace, you are considered to have drawn that counter card instead. So this is let me handle this on a stick. Does it take a slot?
It takes an accessory slot.
Yeah, it's an accessory slot. I missed that somewhere, but yes, it's an accessory. So, you know, I don't think the accessory slot in Guardian is like crazy contentious. Nowadays my Guardian builds are like mirror unless I have a better reason.
Yeah.
Because mirror just asks so little of you, but you know, this could save you a couple moves and an engage action in multiplayer. If you're playing someone like Zoe, who's already starting at like a 4 willpower, suddenly you can tank some pretty decent willpower tests from other people who might not be able to handle it so well. I think it's a little niche, but I do think this has its place, particularly in multiplayer. I don't think you look at this in solo at all.
Yeah, the only thing as far as with Zoe is you're competing with the cross.
Oh, that's true.
Which is like one of the best accessories in the game.
It's quite good.
How
about Daniela? Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, you know who could take this? Porcupine Tommy.
That's true.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm trying to think what he would put in an accessory slot that would compete with this. There's not much.
A lot of people put teddy bear.
Sure, teddy bear.
Or cherish.
Maybe upgraded rosary.
Yeah.
Depending on your build.
Yeah. I considered this in Gloria, but she kind of likes the upgraded, what do you call it? Rosary beads? Rosary?
Are you talking Mary?
Mary, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not terrible and merry. I mean, I feel like so the biggest value out of this, in my opinion, is pulling enemies off of investigators who draw them. Like everything else is nice,
Yeah.
but if I'm looking at this in like a multiplayer context and I'm the killer, I'm the guardian, I can access this. I'm saving myself move and exhaust action or move and engage actions to pull enemies off of allies that ought not have them.
Now, do you take this in Carson?
That's what I was wondering.
To tank, what do you call it? Like treachery tests for other people. Like, oh no, I got a grasping
that's not
hands.
bad.
It's like, well, I have health to spare. I'm not doing anything. So.
Yeah, just tank the encounter deck basically for the other player.
Or for smaller enemies, and you have your big runic axe out, you know,
Yeah.
and you're just like, no, you go do your stuff.
I mean, maybe there's a literal tank Carson build out there that takes hunter armor and you just get the additional soak. And then you play this and all you are is like soak and let me handle thises and martyr's vambrace, and you just like try to pull as much of the encounter deck off of other people as you can.
I just imagine
First watch.
I just imagine Carson in one of those, like, you know, when they're training like police dogs, those guys in the big foam suits running away.
Absolutely.
Foam suit Carson. That's the deck name.
And the dogs are just like, crypt chill.
Yeah. It's not a
someone
dog,
make
it's
that
just a stiff wind. Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
But like
Oh my
general
God, sorry.
purpose, if you're not going hard support. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Vinny B. Porcupine Tony. Shortened down to Porky Pig.
Porky Pig. Wow.
Okay, sorry. Continue, please. I just need to...
like if you're doing extreme, I'm here to support, like I'm building my deck to tank things, you look at this. But I think
Yes.
beyond that specific intent, this doesn't see inclusion. Right. So
Yeah.
I think it kind of fits a niche, and outside of that niche, you're not going to see it.
Yeah.
But in that niche, this is a cool piece.
I think this would be really good if you're running a 2-player, well, especially good if you're playing a 2-player team and you have the killer and the clover and you have like no flex at all, right? Like, and you are just 2 people moving together, probably with safeguard, and the guardian just murderizes things and just lets the cloovy person just, go about their merry way and look through their magnifying glass and smell the flowers, right? And
You just play Big Daddy to their little sister.
exactly. It's like, what's that video game?
BioShock.
BioShock. Yes, this is the BioShock card.
I mean, I'm completing your clunky armor metaphor to its
Yes.
like coolest ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Let's round out. No, this isn't the last one. But it's possibly one of the better ones. Ian, you want to read Girish?
Yep. Girish Kadakia, I am guessing.
Sure.
ICPC Punjab Detective, Guardian Asset. It costs 4, level 4, gives you a willpower and a wild icon. Ally and police traits. Girish Kadakia may be assigned damage and or horror dealt to other investigators at your location during a skill test being performed by an investigator at your location. Exhaust Girish Kadakia. That investigator gets +2 skill value for this test. If this test is successful, heal 1 damage or horror from Girish Kadakia. Takes up the ally slot. I like this ally a lot. Yes. So you get premium damage horror soak, 3 and 3 of each. That can heal itself on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
You also get to boost a skill test, essentially like once per round, by 2. And it can be another investigator. It could be yourself as well. So it's hard to see like a flaw on this card other than it's 4 XP, which is on the higher side, obviously.
Yeah, but you get what you pay for with
Yes,
this one.
you really do. You really do.
Now let's compare this to Hunter's Armor.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm a real big fan of the Guardian space that soaks things for other people.
Mhm.
You get a heal in here.
Mhm.
Great for Vincent.
Mhm.
Great for Carolyn. Great for everyone they're playing with.
Great for Carson. This is
Great
like,
for Carson.
oh man, soaking for other people and
Yep.
giving them boosts and healing. Like, you'll be everyone's best friend.
Mhm.
Great for that build we were just talking about. Like if you're taking Martyr's Vambrace and you're being like I tank and I help and that's how I'm here, or that's why I'm here. Girish is like a fantastic ally for that type of build. Because if for whatever reason you don't need the skill test, you can just pass it off to someone else.
You can take this in Tommy and, I mean, slowly eke away, and finally, he cracks off and you get 7 resources back.
Only when you draw your second one, but yes.
Yeah.
He's just
Just
Yeah.
yeah.
So good.
it's so funny.
Yeah.
Every time we do this, it always surprises me how little we have to say over the good cards because
Yeah.
like it's just there. Like, can't you see it? It's
Can't
right in
you-
front of
yeah.
you guys.
Just read the card. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
we are
we
pretty
must remain.
vigilant for the good cards. We remain vigilant. Ever vigilant, if you will. Which is a Guardian event. 0 cost, 4 XP, willpower, and 2 intellect icons. One are tactic traded, so Mark can take this one. One at a time, investigators at your location as
It's
a group,
funny every time.
Yeah, may play up to 4 assets in total from their hands, reducing the resource cost of each by 1. Ever Vigilant was already a really nice card to put on Stick to the Plan. This is absolutely bonkers good. Yeah.
Because Ever Vigilant, when it's just in your own deck and it only applies to your own cards, like it's really good. It's going to save you actions and it's going to save you resources. But like, I would say, I mean, it depends on the build. But if I'm getting all 3 procs on level 1 Ever Vigilant, I'm really happy about it. It's like maybe 50-50.
Yeah.
And the other 50, the other like 45% of the time it's 2 things, and like very occasionally I need it to save resources, so I'll play one thing.
Oof.
But like I know I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
But level 4, especially if you're playing 4-player, like even if you're playing 2-player, the fact that you're probably you're gonna get the full value out of this card, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
If you think about the importance of setup in all games, but like in multiplayer, you're saving all those actions of people being able to, we all do these like setup turns, but people might actually be able to do stuff on their first turn because you're kind of greasing the wheels here, saving some resources as well. It costs 4 XP, but it's worth every XP. And the nice thing is, like, because you can just, like, you don't need to take 2 copies in this case. You just need to take the 1 copy and have Stick to the Plan and just throw this on there, and you're good to go.
This is if you even dare to take 2 copies of this, one on Stick to the Plan and one in your deck, use it on Stick to the Plan to start, obviously. And then if you have this one like mid game and stuff gets unreal and I don't know, messy, and someone
So
needs to
you're
like
playing Arkham.
and someone needs to like pull out a weapon or something like that, like on your turn being able to give someone else the opportunity to do some setup while they have an enemy engage with them and not take attacks of opportunity because these aren't actions, that seems pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Or like even beyond an enemy, say you're in dire straits, someone's about to die, they have an enemy on them and their turn's over, they're gonna die, but
They can play out
maybe they have
soak.
some soak in their hand.
Yeah. Yep.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Love it. Loved Ever Vigilant 1. Ever Vigilant 4
Mm-hmm.
is just so good.
At least one person will have to run this card in every Iron Man until the end of time. From now on.
It is legally required.
Yes.
All right,
As-
everyone
as-
gets 1 asset.
As I've played like majority Mystic and Guardian in our Iron Mans, it's probably me, but I shall gladly take up the mantle. Okay, so kind of rounding out thoughts on the Guardian cards here. Obviously, lots like Guardian's always been about support, but obviously this being the Carson box, like, oh my god, if like I want to be support was the thing that you wanted to do, wow, you got a good set of cards for it.
Yeah, and I also think like as the janky guy who enjoys some real good jank. Not saying you guys don't, but I'm just as a janky guy. I think Guardian got some decent jank here, especially with like custom mods, Bolus, Breach the Door, and that what was the skill? Helping Hand. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
some stuff game breaking stuff that could possibly end up breaking something. You know? But
so you're saying future taboo candidates?
Stop! No, don't bring that hateful thought into the world.
Yeah, it's an interesting collection of cards. A little bit up and down. I feel like there was a handful where we're like kind of middling, not the best, but then especially in the upgraded cards, there are a few where we're just like gushing over them and have very little to say. And then I think more than anything, this is the expansion where it's like, if you're tired of just killing things all the time as Guardian, here's some other stuff you can do. Like there are some killing cards in this set, but yeah, this was out of any expansion, this feels like the one that was most opening up some other options for Guardian too.
If you're tired of committing the murder, maybe you can help be an accessory to murder.
Hold the bag while your friends kill things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, wonderful. Guys, let's move it on to a little bit of technical time here. We're running a little bit long. I'll do my shorter one first. I finished God of War Ragnarok. It was great. If you enjoyed the first God of War, or I guess the fourth God of War, as it were, the one that came out in like 2017, 2018, you'll probably very much love the second one. There's so many cool things. There's new characters you can play and ally with, and like there's like post game content out the wazoo. Like even if you're not like me, and you like, if you're like me and you try to do like all the side shit before you go to the final boss, even then there was a bunch of stuff to do after the fact. And I imagine that if you do the final boss sooner than I did, then it'll just keep you going for a very long time. Platinumed it. I look forward to playing it again in a couple of years. Definitely recommend the God of War series, Ian. Ian, I recommend it. Ian.
Noted.
If you've got the PlayStation Plus or whatever, like it's just on that catalog for free. FY Izzle. That's me. Ragnarok was great. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Play it when you can.
Ian?
I'll keep mine high and tight as well. I have been I think last time around Sean talked about like of all the like types of media for him, it was like, was it watching something is the one that's least likely to happen?
TV.
Yeah, for
TV. Yep, shows.
For me, it's like playing video games is the one that's like least likely to happen for me. Yeah, but lately,
I mean, it's sad either way.
Yeah, these are the decisions we must make as adults. But for me, lately, I've been going back and picking up Cyberpunk 2077, which I started a while ago. I had a little stretch of playing it a lot, and then a long stretch of not playing it, and I picked it up again recently. Really like it. I'm sure I've probably talked about it on the cast before, that like I think there were a lot of valid criticisms of it when it was first released. You know, there were bugs that I haven't really come across, but I know it was a thing, and there were some expectations about the game that weren't really met in terms of like how filled the world is with, like, you know, in some open world games you can like go into any building, or there's like just so much going on in terms of like different crowds and random events. Like to me, like Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably like the pinnacle of open world. Like this world is living and just doing whatever, no matter what you're doing. Cyberpunk 2077 doesn't quite do that, But I really like it because, not a shocker, but I'm a big cyberpunk fan as a genre, and I'm about halfway through, I believe, like the main story, and I really like them. It's a really good main story. The characters are great. I really like the combat. So yeah, I think it's worth looking at if you just heard bad things about it before. If you just go into it, like now that we're quite separated from the initial like hype, if you can just go into it knowing what it is and like kind of knowing its strengths and weaknesses, and there's a really good game in there, particularly if you are a fan of the genre.
Cool. Yeah, I was watching the buzz for that one as it was releasing. It was one of those games where like I hadn't decided I was going to get it yet, but like if people said it was good, it would definitely seem like something I would enjoy. So you think, now that the dust is settled, it's worth looking at?
I think so. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably like deals that'll crop up now since it's been like a while since it came out.
Cool. Scott, bring us home, baby.
I have two really quick ones. One is a music video that you recommended to me that is the best video.
Oh yes,
the highest like
It
quality.
is a wild fucking ride.
Wow, what a music video. The band is Falling in Reverse and the song is Watch the World Burn. It's an experience. I'm not going to say any more than that. Preferably
It's heavy.
It's heavier. Yeah,
but
I would try to watch it not on like a biggest screen you can, but like a computer screen. I would not do it on a phone. Try it on a computer screen or a TV or something like that, just to get the full. It is a 3.5 minute movie, is what it is. Yeah. And near the end, you're like, oh right, it's a music video because you see people with instruments, but it just, that's fantastic. So Falling in Reverse, Watch the World Burn. And then I have just been kind of just drooling and waiting for Kerbal Space Program 2 to come out, which is coming out in 14 days. And yeah, I love Kerbal Space Program and I can't wait for this new one. There's like just so many new things and oh god, it's hard to talk without going into detail, but the details are really boring to anyone who's not into flight simulator style aerospace stuff. Like, just to give you an idea, to play the original Kerbal Space Program better, I bought a aeronautical textbook to like learn stuff so I can apply it in the video game. KSP is very, very unforgiving. But
is the cold vacuum of space, Scott.
Yeah, it's like, Microsoft Flight Simulator, if you put it on like maximum realness, that's how KSP is, and there's no like easy mode. Like it is the Dark Souls of space games. There is just no giving up. But yeah, it has a bunch of stuff like interstellar travel. Like there's a bunch of almost sci-fi stuff now, but it's all theoretically based in science, like how they think it would happen if it did. So interstellar travel and exploration, and you can make colonies and stuff like that. Yeah, so I'm super excited. And there's multiplayer. So if anybody plays KSP2, let me know. We could be friends.
That's cool.
So
I'll have to like watch you play it sometime. 'Cause it seems like it's over my head, but it seems interesting.
Yeah, if you ever want to watch me play it, it'll have to be like, okay, I'll need to like, you give me notice. Like, hey, next week I want to watch you play.
I'll send you homework.
Well, no, just so I can like set up stuff and be like, okay, I'm ready to start this part of this mission. I'm ready to launch this. So you're not just watching me tinker around and build a rocket for an hour and a half. And like,
sure, it's
super boring, right? Or like planning trips with a map and stuff. Like, yeah, so.
Logistics can be fun. That's,
Yeah, it can.
Maybe.
Yeah, like I personally, like I will watch KSP streams, but there's times where I get bored watching KSP streams as a KSP fan. So I can't even imagine what it's like for someone who's not. So yeah, that's me.
Cool. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us on this extra girthy episode. And we will see you guys later in the month for 148. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.